the pledge.
United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a moment of silence for your member of this integration.
Present.
Councilor Bradford. Not here. Councilor Andusa,
Present.
Councilor Civic,
Yes.
Councilor Correa,
Present.
Councilor Silva,
Here.
Council President Burke,
Here.
Councilor Bennett, Councilor Wagner. Here. Councilor Kennedy. And Vice President Wayne. Here.
Thank you, sir. Secretary Bill. Rules of meeting decorum. Upper Darby residents have the opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. Residents are prohibited from making threats, using profanity, or acting in a manner that would impede or prevent the conduct of business of this meeting. Solicitor Kilkenny, would you like to address this?
Thank you very much, President Burke. I know over the last couple of months, the residents of Upper Darby and council has asked our office to look into a case that is gone through federal courts related to the Penn Ferry School District in Bucks County. And there were challenges to how public comment was handled at Penn Ferry School District meeting. And so what we decided to do is our office looked at the matter, especially Ms. Richardson, and narrow the scope of how we wanted to define and limit the public comment. And so what we did is, in the interim, we spoke to President Burke about it, the mayor, and CAO about this. We wanted to put the interim changes in effect. And then Ms. Richardson forwarded to the Home Government Committee a chance to look at this permanently. We can describe it and go over it. But what we don't want is some legal challenge saying we're too restrictive on public comment in the interim. Obviously, this is an evolving matter. The case has been appealed to the higher courts, and we'll see how this comes out. But we thought that after speaking to President Burke and members of the administration, this was kind of an appropriate public comment guidance at this point. So I think that summarizes it, President Burke.
Thank you, Solicitor Kenny. Next, we have Community Engagement, Black History Month, Community Services Works. Councilman Jones, please.
Yes, thank you, President Burke. Good afternoon, residents. My name is Councilman Marquise Tunis Jr. I represent the 7th District of Upper Darby Township, and I also serve as the chair of the Community Engagement Committee, which is a fairly new committee here at Upper Darby Township Council. It was designed to find ways to engage in the community through Upper Darby Township Council. Tonight, we will be honoring pillars of our community of African and African American descent that have been able to create programming and bring a lot of great things to Upper Darby Township. We're going to try to do this in a very reasonable manner. So the way it will work is each council member has been assigned to read the bio of each awardee tonight. They may have a bio too. And then following that, we're going to ask our Honorable Mayor Kemper and President Brian Burke, as well as members of the Community Engagement Committee. We would like for each awardee to come up themselves or with their families, and we can get a quick picture and then begin the agenda of the, pardon me, of the meeting. So the first, person will be honoring, and if you could for a moment, if you could just stand up when, your name is called, will be read by, Councilwoman Danielle Blackwell, and she'll be highlighting, Constable Myron McNeely.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Constable Myron has lived in Delaware County for more than 20 years. Myron grew up in West Philadelphia, where he started a family with his wife, Marcia McKinley. They later moved to Delaware County in 1999. Myron retired with 32 years of service from SEPTA in 2014. He then dedicated his time to serving the Delaware County community and taking care of his family. Myron is a loving husband, father of two, and caregiver for his older sister. In the last 8 years, Myron has served on the Upper Darby Democratic Committee as vice chairman and has held numerous positions, including elected committeeman for the 5-1 district. He has also served as a member of the Delaware County Black Caucus, where he has sat as the chair of Judicial and Law Committee and is now one of the 5 conveners. Also, Myron has been involved with the Delaware County Coalition for Prison Reform. He's a member of the Century 21 Police Reforming, as well as a member of the Delco Municipal Police Accountability Coalition. Myron has organized several community events to help those in need, including his blankets and toiletries, giving away the homeless block parties, where he collected donations from community members and distributed them to homeless shelters around Delaware County and surrounding areas. I can attest that the food is very good. He most recently orchestrated a community food drive where he donated 200 boxes of food and to families in Delaware County. He also has lent a hand helping to the Ahara community, support for homeless veterans. Myron is now the newly elected first Black constable of Upper Darby. Thank you, Myron. I definitely probably one of his friends, right?
Thank you, Councilwoman Blackwell, for that reading. Our next awardee will be read by Vice President of the Township Council, Laura Wentz, and she will be reading the biography of Ms. Portia Kamara.
Thank you. Portia Kamara was born in Liberia, West Africa. She is a resident of Upper Darby and the co-founder and executive director of the Multicultural Community Family Services, NCFS, a not-for-profit community-based organization located in Upper Darby. Portia has a master's degree in social work from Temple University, a graduate diploma with a specialization in child welfare from the University of Pittsburgh, a certificate in trauma from Bryn Mawr College, a mental health first aid instructor certificate from the National Council of Behavioral Health, and is a Lakeside Global Institute Trauma 101 and 102 adjunct trainer for the Delaware County Department of Human Services. Portia has a deep passion for her community, its diversity, and its people. Her life's work involves supporting individuals and families experiencing social determinant of health challenges with a special focus on working with residents in underserved communities. Portia and the Multicultural Community Family Services services, staff and program volunteers work in collaborative partnerships with community organizations, institutions, municipal and legislative leaders to improve health outcomes for Upper Darby residents. This is accomplished by providing access to culturally specific and other healthy foods through the MCFS Calabash Food Pantry, providing in-home services to seniors and individuals who are intellectually or developmentally challenged, offering literacy and English language services, helping immigrants seeking to become United States citizens successfully pass their citizenship examinations, offering youth soccer programming, engaging community residents in dialogues and conversations around critical community issues, and supporting institutions seeking to embed racial equity and cultural and language competency in their programs and services. Portia has been recognized for her services for community to the community by the Philadelphia City Council, the Delaware County Council, the Township of Upper Darby, the Librarian Association of Pennsylvania, the Upper Darby Outreach Corporation, the African Cultural Alliance of North Africa, Echoes of Africa, the Second Chance Women of Distinction Award, the Philadelphia Sikh Society, and the Liberian Gentlemen's Club, among others. Portia serves on several coalitions and committees, including the Delaware County Immigration Coalition, DCIC, the Delaware County Systems of Care Children Cabinet, the Delaware County Trauma Alliance, and the Upper Darby Nonprofit Collaborative. Portia previously served as a member of the Upper Darby 2018 Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee and the Upper Darby International Festival Committee, the Upper Darby Multicultural Commission, and the Upper Darby Economic Development Commission, and the Upper Darby Township and Sellers Memorial Free Public Libraries Board of Directors. Portia is married to Gord Kamara Sr. The union is blessed with 3 children, Jamelia, I'm sorry, I'm dyslexic, and I don't want to butcher the names of your children. I'm very sorry, but thank you, Portia, for all that you've done in our community. You are an activist, and we all celebrate and respect your work.
Thank you, President, Vice President. Reading of the mission. Our next one will be the recommended official councilman, Andrew Hammond, and her bio will be read by Council at Large Secretary of Justice. Sorry, Mr. Vita Grant.
Davina Jane Graham is a nurse of over 13 years and a nurse practitioner for 6 years. She moved to Upper Darby from Philadelphia in 2016. Her primary focus is healthcare and the underserved population and bridging the gap affecting patients in today's healthcare system. Her primary training is in primary care and public health. She loves to educate patients and young nurses. She formed Nurses United for Change and Equity, which is a mobile vaccine unit providing vaccines in Delco since 2012. With the goal of a nurse-led clinic to continue to provide care to the residents of Delco, they were very active during the COVID-19 pandemic.
I will be reading the biography of our next awardee, Mr. Cyrus Barlow. Cyrus Barlow was born in Liberia, West Africa, and he came to the States at 9 years old in 2004. He grew up in the Upper Darby School District, attended Byward Elementary, Beverly Hills Middle School, and Upper Darby High School, graduated in the class of 2014. He was a 3-year varsity letterman in football, earning all Delco honors for 2 of those years, a 4-year varsity letterman for track and field, and won a Central League championship and earned all Delco honors in the 100 meters and 100-meter relay. He graduated from California University of Pennsylvania with a degree in sports management and a focus in exercise science. He started a sports-based youth development program called No Lacking Lifestyle LLC, with the mission to provide student athletes in the Delaware County, Philadelphia region with the fundamentals and resources needed to perform at a high level beyond the gridiron. The emphasis of the program is on academic achievement and assistance to educate the youth with the full knowledge and science of sportsmanship, teamwork, and healthy competition. Cyrus currently coaches varsity football at Upper Darby High School. And I just want to let the people in the audience know, Cyrus has really worked with a lot of young people and helped them achieve athletic scholarships, academic scholarships on all levels of college, D1, D2, and D3. And I think that's a big void in our community that he's filling, and we wanted to honor you tonight for that. Okay, our next awardee is really it's a little bit, really personal to me. This young man, I like to say, I like to call him a young man, has opened doors for many, people of color, council members in Upper Darby Township. So the next biography I will be reading is Reverend Nathaniel Goodson Jr. Reverend Nathaniel Goodson Jr. is the eldest of 7 children. Born to Mr. Nathaniel Sr. and Miss Ruth Goodson, he was raised in a Christian family and attended church in his early childhood. In May 1979, Reverend Goodson became the pastor of Prayer Chapel, COGIC, serving for 4 years. Pastor Goodson received his bachelor's degree in political science from the historic first HBCU, Cheyney University. And in 1988, he received his master's degree in social work from the University of Pennsylvania. In February of 2005, Pastor Goodson was appointed as the first African-American councilman in Upper Darby Township District. His dedication and the trust of the people in his community action resulted in him being elected for 2 terms, ending his tenure in 2013. In 2016, he established the Byward Community Association and Corporation, which led to continued community service. This organization was developed by the Prayer Chapel Church and gifted to the community to provide resources, including community forums, outreach, health awareness, and the food pantry. Today, he continues to be an influential figure in the church and the Upper Darby community. Pastor G, as his friends and parishioners refer to him, has been married for 48 years to his lovely wife, Audrey. They have 1 daughter, Dia Goodson Jackson, and a son-in-law, Quan, from this union. He has a granddaughter, Layla, who turned 15 in January, whom he adores. Thank you, Pastor Nate Goodson, for your service. Our next biography will be read by Councilwoman Danielle Blackwell, for Ms. Arnetta Menta.
Thank you. Arnetta Minto, born March 24th, 1963, to James and Jean Arthur in South Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She is one of 4 children. They lived in Wilson Park until she was 10 and the family moved to Southwest Philadelphia. They moved to Upper Darby in 1994, graduated from Philadelphia School and went to Delaware County Community College. Her first act of civic engagement was special investigations into missing persons. She is the owner of Prayers for Safe 5. Under Mayor Shea, she assisted with the National Missing Children's Day in Upper Darby. She is vice president of Stonehurst Civic Association. She created the PAGB Parents Against Gang Violence in Upper Darby School District. She fostered families with appropriate housing, blocked parents, and provided safe environments for children, after-school jobs, training classes. She participated in the association with the Upper Darby School Weed and Seed program. She also participated in the Town Watch program in 1988, food distribution during COVID here in the Upper Darby Township. Let's give Ms. Minto a hand. Thank you.
All right, I just want to give a final round of applause for all our awardees for my team. I'm going to ask if Mayor, Honorable Mayor Pepper, as well as President Brian Burke, the members of the committee to join us on phone, if we could just get a quick picture, and council members as well, free to join while we give the awards to the people that receive them. I'll be calling you up one by one.
What about the other people on the list? Are they still acknowledging,
Oh.
right?
I apologize. Yeah, I apologize. I didn't see your face. I'm sorry. Our next bio that will be read is it's about Upper Darby Fire Chief Derek Sawyer, and it will be read by Councilwoman Martin Sharp.
Thank you. Derek J.D. Sawyer. Derek J.D. Sawyer is a 35-year veteran of the fire service and currently serves as the fire chief for Upper Darby Township, Pennsylvania. Chief Sawyer serves as the 19th Fire Commissioner, as the 19th Fire Commissioner of the Philadelphia Fire Department from June of 2014 to May 2016. He provided leadership for the more than 2,400 members within the department. With a passion for educating the community on merits of safety and preparedness, he has become a sought-after public speaker and revels in the opportunity to engage the community as well as the public and private sector entities. Retiring from the PFD after 31 years of service, Sawyer served as the fire department for Trenton and emergency services in Trenton, New Jersey. Well-versed in the facet of emergency response, Chief Sawyer served in every civil rank within the PFD, as well as every mayoral appointed position, including Deputy Commissioner for both technical services and operations. He held staff positions in the Technical Support Unit, headed the department's Homeland Security Divisions, and has presented at the 9th Annual Montgomery County Chief Officers Seminar on the importance of information sharing as it relates to preparing for and preventing terrorist attacks. Over the past decade, Chief Sawyers had traveled the globe to educate diverse communities on the effectiveness of community risk reduction and fire and life safety education. Among his most impactful presentations were the 2011 International Safety Seminar in Seoul, Korea, and the National Fire Protection Association Annual Conference. He led the award-winning fire prevention division, and because of his hands-on leadership, assisted the fire department in reducing the number of fire fatalities in the city of Philadelphia to its lowest rate in recorded history. Chief Sawyer was the 2011 recipient of the T. Saddam Duke Award for Fire Prevention. He served as a chairperson for the National Fire Protection Association Urban Fire Safety Task Force. Additionally, Chief Sawyer has served as a board member for the St. Christopher's Foundation for Children, Northwest Victim Services, and the American Red Cross of Southeastern Pennsylvania chapter. Chief Sawyer has augmented his academic accomplishments by graduating from the National Fire Academy's Executive Fire Officer Program the Carl Holmes Executive Development Institute, and the Harvard Kennedy School of Executive Education for state and local government. He has obtained certification as Fire Officer 5, Fire Instructor 2, Fire Inspector, Hazardous Material Technician, and Firefighter 2. Sawyer also holds an associate degree in fire science from Community College of Philadelphia, a bachelor's of arts degree in public safety administration from Holy Family University, and a master's of science degree in homeland security from St. Joseph University. Chief Sawyer. Chief Sawyer is not here, but thank you.
Yes, and I just wanted to, agenda change. There was an 8 million, under the Black History Community Service Awards, and there was an error on our part. We sent the list to our secretary, and she pointed it out, but there was only 7 award recipients. So without further ado, we're gonna give out the awards. Founding the time, the Honorable Mayor Barbara Kemper, President Burke, as well as members of the Community Engagement Committee, and we're gonna start with Mr. Marlon McNally. I have the awards here.
Leave the group.
Always said that. Where'd you get these?
Thank you. You look sharp.
Thank you, thank you.
Here it is, nice.
Ooh, thank you.
Oh, this mess.
Else?
Haley.
Oh, here, sorry.
I am.
Pictures from.
Thank you.
Sorry.
All right. I would like to thank you all for the award. Considering me, thank you all very much.
You deserve it. You're welcome. Yeah, you gotta get that on your wall. Look at it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, the next person we'll bring up is Ms. Portia Kamara.
Congratulations. Thanks for all the work that you here and have been doing. And we'll continue to do.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, the honorable council.
No, yeah, just come here, we're gonna do a little bit on first. Turn it around. There you go.
Indeed. The honorable council and honorable members of the Upper Darby Engagement Committee, my family, the Multicultural Community Family Services, and the community we serve, say thank you very much. It truly is an honor, and we will continue to live by this. Thank you.
Thank you. For all that you do.
Thank you.
It's an honor.
And you know, I have to say.
Next, we'll be inviting up Ms. Davita Graham.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for all that you do.
I appreciate it. I just want to thank you on behalf of Nurses United for Change and Equity, all the nurse volunteers, student volunteers, because it's not just me. So thank you.
Thank you.
The next person we'll bring up is Mr. Cyrus Darby.
Although generation one.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you,
for
guys.
all your hard work. Appreciate it.
Thank you. On behalf of my brothers and the rest of my team, I just want to thank our fees for like inviting me to this, and I will keep working hard to make others proud, okay?
Definitely.
Next, we're going to honor Pastor Nathaniel Goodson.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
No, in the middle, in the middle. Come on, a little more, a little more, a little. There you go.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to honor Ms. Arnetta Minta.
Hey. Congratulations.
Gotcha.
Great. Thanks for all you do. Thank you.
Now we'll have public forum.
Ms. Colleen Kennedy.
I turned this closer, or you were this?
I just did that.
Oh, okay, I just didn't want to. Yeah. Okay, my name is Colleen Kennedy, 8723 Westminster Pike. I'm probably gonna speak later when you actually vote on this, but I just wanted to share some resources and I'll provide it to the end. There was a meeting recently about, ARP funds and $1 million going for gun violence, prevention. We are in complete agreement on that. I wanted to share some resources and some facts with you so that this money can be appropriately spent. So first off, I just want to make sure that everyone on council is aware that 62% of gun violence in our state is actually from gun and suicide. And there are a number of policies that impact that statistic. In addition, to that horrific statistic, there are a number of state legislative bills that have not been taken up. And I think there is a real opportunity here for our council to take up resolutions in support of those legislative solutions, including extreme risk protection orders, lost and stolen gun reporting requirements, safe gun storage, and universal background checks. Now, in terms of the money that we have to spend here, you've earmarked $1 million for gun violence prevention. That's awesome. I hope that happens. I was really troubled by the press coverage around this and the reference to a specific nonprofit that you may or may not spend money for. And so I just wanted to offer some alternatives and provide some information. According to conversations that I have had, there's actually a lot of work being done at the county level for gun violence prevention with really well-trusted organizations that are Black and brown led that have research to back up the strategies that they're using. And they are juvenile focused, they're young people focused, and do not center the police in the scenario. I know that we have all sorts of different political opinions on that, but I will name as a matter of fact that our police department has killed at least a couple of people using their guns, and we can have different political opinions on that. But I think all of us would agree that if we can create situations where that is prevented, that is always a good thing. You would rather somebody live through a police interaction than not live through a police interaction. So in wrapping up, because I'll probably speak again later, I hope that you will do some research on what Delaware County Council is already working on. There's a proposal that would actually provide, let me just pull it up here really quickly, sorry. It would provide a youth advisory board, teen hangout spaces, teen-led food and resource banks, opportunities to learn about peer mediation, and many other opportunities. And at the heart of this, I think what we're missing here in Upper Darby is access to mental health care. And I think that if we're going to spend $1 million, I would prefer for, if on nothing else, I would prefer for it to improve the access to mental health care for young people during this really stressful time, rather than donating to a nonprofit that is ultimately trying to repair relationships with the police. I don't think that necessarily is going to reduce the gun violence that we're seeing in our communities. So anyway, I will be back up in a little bit.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy. Next is Rachel. I cannot pronounce your last name, I'm sorry.
Let's.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Rachel Feiglitz. I'm a landscape architect who lives.
Rachel, can you say your address as well?
Oh, I'm sorry, 18 Hemlock Road. I'm a landscape architect who lives in Upper Darby in the Roselawn neighborhood, and I'm here just to show my support for the ARP plan in regards to open space funding. I think it's an excellent opportunity for improving quality open space, which is critical to communities' well-being. It has the ability to increase home value and makes neighborhoods more desirable to move into. Upper Darby is very densely populated and it's extremely built up, and there's very few large parks. The ARP open space funding should provide an excellent opportunity for much needed improvements to our existing public spaces, as well as acquiring new open space for recreation, outdoor gatherings, stormwater management, and conservation and education. This is becoming even more important in the world that we're living in today. So I really hope you're able to approve the money for open space.
Thank you. Stephen Starkey?
Walker?
No, two different Stevens.
Okay.
Stephen Starkey? No.
I start by saying I'm really nervous. Hi, I'm Steve Sardi, 331 Blanchard Road. What I wanted to talk about is what we just talked about, the American Rescue Plan, money funding going towards something. There's a lot of issues that are on there that are good, important issues. The one I wanted to speak about was to the parks and open space projects. Upper Darby has close to, if not 30 parks, open space, recreation areas in the township. It's vast. I've been to most of them at one point or another with my kids or through work at them. And the one thing I'll say is they're always crowded, which is a good thing. They're used and it's good for the community. I want to say it's not just kids that attended, young kids, adolescents, teenagers, adults, senior citizens. I've seen everybody utilize it. I know when people hear parks, people generally think it's just like a slide or maybe a swing set. But I know depending on where you go, there's also numerous baseball fields, basketball courts, football fields, empty fields that are used for soccer or any other sport, playing catch. You have tennis courts, and we also even have parking lots. Now I say parking lots because you even have those utilized by some people who ride their skateboards, ride their scooters, ride their bikes, and they're looking for a safe place to do that where they don't have to worry about traffic or getting in trouble in the neighborhood and blocking the streets. Again, I think the parks are an important part of Upper Darby. There's so many of them. They're so helpful to the community, not only for the physical health of the residents, but I also think the mental health, especially in times of COVID. For when everybody was indoors and wasn't allowed to leave, you couldn't gather inside. One of the first things when people were allowed out to congregate, they would go outside. The parks were usually the first place that we're gone to. You could social distance, you could enjoy the weather. You can still wear the mask, social distance, and it's just a good place for the community to meet. Sorry, I got lost on where to say it. I just think it's a wise use of money. I think it would benefit the community as a whole. And again, I'm just talking about like everything, even being from seating at parks to just benches, could be picnic tables, could be gazebos, pavilions, trees made to shade the area, just paving walkways or trails, or anything like that. I just think, again, I just hope that money would be spent towards the parks and open space projects. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Bill Kaplan.
Hi, good evening.
Say
Thank
your
you.
name and address,
My name is Bill Kaplan. I'm at 241 Highland Avenue in Upper Darby. I'd like to thank you for letting me speak here to the council, President Burke, and Mayor Kiefer, and everyone else who's serving the public. I just wanted to say I'm excited about how these funds will be allocated. I'm excited about that it will be spent on infrastructure and parks. My family and I, we go to Nailers Run frequently. And we are very happy with the way it's been being cleaned up and taken care of, and we would like to see more of that. I'm here especially to say that I support the violence prevention allocation. I think that any initiatives to enhance the safety and the well-being of Upper Darby neighborhoods is a worthwhile initiative. It needs to be, as you probably already know, community-driven and youth-led. And it also needs to be based on best practices. And that means starting with good data, knowing what needs to be done, because it's not just doing the right things, but it's doing things right. And what also it means is that people in Upper Darby know what's best for Upper Darby. And so any initiative, violence prevention initiative that starts with people's ideas, what are people thinking? And what do they say that we need in Upper Darby? And that's just a great way to start. So I'm just here as a resident to say that I'm very pleased with the way it's being allocated, and I support the violence prevention initiatives. Great, thank you.
Thank you. Next is Steve Roberts.
Evening.
Hi.
Stephen Walker, 42737. I'm here to support funding for stream bank restoration and stormwater management. It is the storms that cause the damage, but many of our practices have made the streams ripe for damage. Past practices by residents, businesses, and sometimes even the township have contributed some instability in our stream banks. The last 2 decades, our stream banks have been deteriorating at an alarming rate, perhaps because of more severe storms. Various groups have formed to mitigate the problem. For example, Upper Darby Tree Tenders, Upper Darby Rain Gardens, EDCSC, just to name a few. And a number of parks and fringe groups, like the Swedish Cabin, are trying to help. It takes an overarching group, like the Township, though, to really move the needle. Without the Township, the Gillespie Park Tree Vitalize project doesn't get done. Nor the Drexel Gardens Park bioswales and stream bank revitalization of Nailers Run. Even the residential rain gardens would have been difficult without Upper Darby Joe Martin moving the rear end tiller for us. Stream bank restoration does not go very far without the township. Second, in regard to the stormwater and even wastewater from the 3 distinct systems, Milburn, Fernwood, and Nailers Run, I do not know the particulars of any, but can say there is an urgent need to handle this infrastructure. The increased volumes that we are continuing to see and the flooding damage both here and downstream need attention. Private groups like the Upper Darby Rain Gardens, Upper Darby Tree Tenders can only do so much. Only the township can make an effort large enough to rebuild this infrastructure. This is a rare opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sure. Next is Bonnie Howell.
Bonnie Helm, 4719 Woodland Avenue, Drexel. Good evening. I come before you tonight, putting on my glasses so I can read my statement. I come before you tonight in many capacities. Chair of the Upper Darby Environmental Advisory Committee, co-leader of Tree Tenders of Upper Darby, and resident and steward of Upper Darby Township. In all of these capacities, I come before you to support a commitment of funding for flood mitigation, sewer upgrades, and for parks and public spaces, including stream bank stabilization, buffer restoration, tree planting, environmental land and water improvements, and open spaces for Upper Darby. I'm not sure if many people know that we have the largest acreage of stream bank of the Darby-Cobbs Creek system in all Delaware County, right here in Upper Darby, over 5,000 acres. That's 5 times larger than the next largest acreage, which is in the Eden Borough. That means that we have 5 times the risk of flooding than any other community in Delaware County. And we know about flooding in Upper Darby because it has happened again and again over the years in a variety of places where the creek runs, and more frequently in recent years as rainfall has increased, causing both financial and human pain. Why does this happen? The Pennsylvania Extension Service explains it this way. A stable stream is one, that maintains the same shape and flow pattern over time. A healthy, stable stream will typically have more bank cover than an unhealthy stream. Bank cover helps to reduce erosion by reducing the amount of soil that is exposed to passing water, and as it rushes into and down the stream. The stability of the stream is important for any organisms that live in and around the stream, as well as for protecting your property and nearby infrastructure, like driveways, sewer lines, bridges, and more. Flooding is just one issue that will be helped if we put funds towards stabilizing our creek banks and restoring our buffers and upgrading our sewers. Wildlife will be supported. Pollinators will help grow our gardens. Natural sites such as our beautiful parks like Gillespie Park and Naylor's Run, among others, will provide less muddy and more people-friendly sites for community building. Funding environmental endeavors such as tree planting, purchase of additional open space, buffer restoration, rain gardens, solar installations, etc., is not just about taking care of our natural world. It also means economic savings and cultural benefits. In a press release from Delaware Riverkeeper provided to me by our own Upper Darby resident stream expert, Faith Zerby, who unfortunately could not be here tonight, the economic benefits of stream stabilization with riparian buffers is highlighted. I quote, "The study prepared by Eco Northwest highlights the economic value of riparian buffers, which are undeveloped strips of land by rivers, streams, ponds, and other bodies of water. Riparian buffers are already known to have significant ecological benefits for controlling flooding and preventing erosion. The new report highlights the monetized value of the many benefits of riparian buffers. Specifically,
Your 3 minutes is up.
okay, can I just speak?
But actually, can I?
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry, Solicitor Richardson.
Specifically, the report looks at the value riparian buffers provide in the area of water quality, carbon, air quality, flooding prevention, property values, wildlife habitat, and outdoor recreation.
Excuse me, sir. Your 3 minutes is up. You can speak about, the part on the state. Okay.
I'm sorry.
So there's a public hearing.
It's a public
Everyone.
So you can speak about that later, okay?
I'll finish my statement.
Thank you.
Yeah, because there's no
Okay.
time limit, there's a public hearing, so.
That's fine.
Thank you. Next is Norman James.
My name is Norman James. I live at 327 Maple Avenue. With friends, thank you for the opportunity. I wanted to talk briefly about the federal money that you're looking at tonight, and I want to applaud the mayor and her team put together the proposal. I think it's an excellent proposal. In particular, I think that the money allocated for gun violence prevention is vitally important to the community. The money to assist nonprofits who are working on mental health and issues and concern for people experiencing homeless. That's also going to help the community. I'm particularly pleased to see that there's money set aside for park upgrades and for the purchase of more open space. But particularly, I want to come tonight to say thank you very much for including a substantial amount of money for the stormwater mitigation projects on Naylor's Run. Others have spoken much more knowledgeably than me about the issues and the concern. I would just remind you all that we're talking about streams and waterways. There's always an upstream and there's always a downstream. And if we can be responsible for our portion, then it's going to help people upstream, help people downstream, and remind us that environmental issues are not local, they are worldwide. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Olivia Taylor.
Olivia Taylor, 204 Camp Road. As we all know, we had a big snowstorm last week. My question tonight is why wasn't the budget over the time used for the overtime budget used for the overtime for the streets department? Is the president or CAO?
This is a public forum.
I'm asking why wasn't the overtime used for the safety of this township? there was half of the township that wasn't shoveled, that wasn't plowed. We pay taxes. So to have this done, and you have a budget for overtime, to have those men out there doing what they're supposed to do. They were not there. My question to you, this council, why wasn't it there? Why wasn't it there? And let me be clear, because I don't want the CAO to twist my words like he does. The men did an awesome job, okay? He has a habit of, when the residents come up here and twisting our words, like he did the lady last meeting about the police. She wasn't criticizing her police department. She was making a comparison towards the webpage. And he has a habit, and I'm asking you, Mr. President, to address him and make him stop. Because I know when I sit down, he's gonna rebuttal, and knowing I can't come back up here, I'm asking you as the president to put a stop to it. Now, back to my question. Why wasn't the men on the street all week?
Michelle, I will, myself and public safety will look into that and have a conversation with the CAO. It just wasn't in your neighborhood, it was in all neighborhoods, so.
That's
we
my
can do-
question.
We can do a better job, and we'll have that discussion with the
It's
mayor. and
not
the
like
CAO.
you didn't have the money to do it, okay? You have the money to do it. And my second question, what are you gonna do about 69th Street? Because I pulled over and I watched the guy try to maneuver this roller coaster with this truck. I was waiting for the blade to fall off. Somehow he did a fantastic job, and he did the best he could going up and down this roller coaster. So instead of blaming the last administration, because you've been here 2 years now, got over $20 million coming to you, are you going to fix 69th Street?
Our township engineer will look into it. I know we spoke before in the last couple of meetings, so it's on his list.
Okay, and another thing I want to clarify, Miss Joanne Scallion, from the Watkins Center, 17 years. The Weed the Seed program was hers, and it was never in Upper Darby High School. It was at the DA's office. So you honored, Arnetta for something she didn't do. That was Joanne Scallion. 17 years. She's from the Watkins Center. That was her pet peeve. So why was she honored for something she never done?
Councilman Tunis, this is public forum. Councilman Tunis, this is public forum. No reason to. Okay.
Why don't you respond?
No, this is public forum.
I have a right to respond, Council President. I just wanted to let her know the process.
Okay, go ahead.
Of honoring the awardees. We asked each awardee to send their biography, and that's what we read, their biography. So what they sent us is what we read.
Joanne Scallion is from Watkins Center, 17 years. That was her pet peeve. And again, it was not in Upper Darby High School. It was at the DA's office. You can check it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is David Banton.
Evening, everyone. My name is David Banto, and I'm on the 500 block of Mill Bank. Longtime resident of Upper Darby. So tonight I'm here to speak on, actually to re-echo what I've been doing in the community regarding this ARP program since the money got in. I recently listened to the mayor town hall meeting. And I know since I've been in the community and connecting with residents, I've been getting questions from here and there regarding what is listed on when you put together. And I want to say thank you, Mayor, with your team, for at least having something on paper that we can work with. Thank you very much. And thank you also for giving the resident opportunity to be part of the conversation, which is good because those are the people, we are the people that are directly affected whatsoever that is going on. Now, let me make this clear tonight. I'm here to support the approval because there are things on the list that caught my attention. I work with young people. I work at the juvenile detention center as a support coordinator. I see kids coming through our door with a lot of issues, and with this whole COVID thing and kids getting in trouble. So looking on this list, I see violence prevention. This is something that is close to my heart. Because sometimes when I'm dealing with these kids, listening to their story, it's something that I try to find means of helping them. But helping them along with my job is such a difficult thing. And most of the kids that we receive, most of them are from Delaware County. So to see this in this budget, I think it's something that we all can work with you on to make sure that we put prevention measures in place so that we can even stop the kids from reaching that far. But if we have programs in place, will help us. Now, another thing I'm going to speak on that I will support dearly is the part where you have a nonprofit with a mental health situation. I noticed also that the kids that are coming through our doors, you can clearly tell that most of the kids coming with mental health issues with this whole COVID thing going on. So I'm not exactly sure with this session, the range of our age group that are going to be covered under the mental health program with a nonprofit activity. But I think this is where we need to focus a lot of money, to really help people. Because right now, it is crazy, I can tell you. And I think this is something I would really, really support and appeal to you to help us do this. So I support the approval of the budget.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Next is Mike Atwell.
Michael Atwell, 314 Wayne Avenue, and I'm here to express my support for the ordinance to use the ARPA funds especially for two aspects. One, a little background, I moved to Upper Darby in the early 90s, and since then, I've seen a lot of challenges in Upper Darby from sewer and stormwater management. Sherwin-Williams completely submerged underwater during flooding since I've lived here, and I know we can do better. Sewers aren't sexy. It's hard to get somebody to move to your township because we have new sewers, but it's also hard to get somebody to move to your township when 69th Street Boulevard is completely submerged. We can do better. And part of that ARPA funding is for sewer, stormwater management. That would be great. The other aspect is for parks and open spaces. I serve the township on the tree commission, and I know the mayor especially, but the council as well has been very supportive of improving public spaces in the township, and I think those funds could do wonders for the township to plant trees, to improve our parks, to make better places for young, middle-aged, old people, to calm traffic, to reduce the temperatures. More trees can help reduce some of our urban temperatures. So I'm really here to urge the council to support tonight's ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. And next is Pastor Nate Nixon.
My name is Nathaniel Goodson, and I live at 231 Hampton Road here in Upper Darby. I am a 30-year resident of Upper Darby and have served as the pastor of Prayer Chapel Church, a position I've held throughout my residency in Upper Darby. I am here tonight to support Mayor Keffer's vision of a community center. I am also happy that this modern building will be erected in the Vinewood section of Upper Darby. According to the latest census tract information for the township, the Vinewood community houses approximately 1,500 families with 5,700 people. And while I am pleased that the center will benefit all Upper Darbians, I am equally delighted that it will be in one of the traditionally underserved neighborhoods in our community. It is exciting that the building represents an exciting step toward what I believe will be future development and hopefully attract investors. I am pleased with the plans for the green space and an effort to show not only to the residents of Upper Darby, but to the outside community that we are willing to invest in our community. Thank you for hearing me.
That ends public forum. Next, the Honorable Mayor Barbara Ann Campbell.
Good evening, everyone. I have a few updates for our Upper Darby community. I'm pleased to announce that as part of a new partnership between the Upper Darby Arts and Education Foundation and Upper Darby Township, scholarships to the Upper Darby Summer Stage program will be granted by the township to residents between the ages of 10 and 18, up to 500 children. And it doesn't matter where the children go to school, could be district schools, Catholic schools, cyber school, whatever. We are putting together a plan to spread the word on this, and we could really use your help. You know, if you see something on Facebook, whatever, please pass it on. Harry Giesler and I are finalizing the application forms for Summer Stage 2022 scholarships, and those forms will be posted to the township website as well as the official Summer Stage website, which is summerstage.udfoundation.org. The walk-up COVID-19 testing site opened last week in municipal lot number 1, which is right across the street. Appointments are encouraged but not mandatory, and they are available between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, as well as Tuesday and Thursday until 6:30 p.m. It can be scheduled by visiting testpa.online. The site is part of our continuous efforts to mitigate the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, and it also highlights our ongoing commitment to equity and access by creating a convenient walk-up option for Upper Darby residents. Tonight, the architecture firm JMT will give a presentation on the UD Community Center as part of a land development resolution that is on tonight's agenda. As plans for the center begin to move forward, I would like to emphasize how much of an impact this space will have for our Upper Darby residents. Our kids need a safe place to play and learn after school, and we need real programming for residents of all ages. This will be Upper Darby's first full-fledged community center, and it represents real reinvestment. It will send the signal that Upper Darby is a forward-looking destination community for families and businesses alike. Another item on tonight's agenda is the American Rescue Plan budget. The proposed budget is currently in line with the federal government's guidelines for funding usage and addresses many quality of life issues of Upper Darby residents. This proposal offers support to nonprofits dealing with the growing mental health and homelessness crisis, vaccine incentives for employees, massive repairs and upgrades to stormwater and sewer infrastructure, and millions of dollars to replace lost revenue as a result of the pandemic. It also allocates funding throughout all our departments for essential worker bonuses. There's open space purchases budgeted and small business grants. This funding is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to reinvest in Upper Darby so our residents and businesses can flourish in a cleaner, safer community. Yesterday, February 1st, began Black History Month. I would like to read this proclamation in its honor. Whereas during Black History Month, we celebrate the many achievements and contributions made by Black Americans to our economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development. And whereas we must recognize and pay tribute to the generations of individuals who struggled with adversity, risked their lives for justice, fought a fight that at times seemed impossible to win, and continue to fight for equality and the American dream. Whereas observing Black History Month provides opportunities to gain a deeper understanding of African American history and acknowledge the centuries of struggles for equality and freedom. And whereas Black Americans are engaged throughout our society as our friends and neighbors, co-workers, scholars, teachers, business people, community leaders, and contributors overall to the Upper Darby quality of life. Whereas Upper Darby strives to close the equity and outcome gaps for Black American residents through policies and practices that reflect the experiences of Black American residents, ensure greater access and opportunity, and honor the history, heritage, and contributions. And whereas we are immensely proud of that history and our diversity, as well as thankful for all the countless contributions Black Americans in Upper Darby Township and throughout this nation, this month and throughout the year, we urge our residents to celebrate that heritage and continue to fight for equality and opportunity for all. Now therefore, I, Barbara Ann Keffer, Mayor of Upper Darby, do hereby proclaim the month of February of 2022 as Black History Month in Upper Darby, and urge our community to recognize the vast history and culture of Black Americans. Thank you and have a good evening.
That was my report. So first of all, I'd like to thank all of council for the last 28 days for the hard work for each of their committees, the time they put in. We just have one meeting, we have 2 or 3 meetings. I'd like to thank the administration for coming back, dealing with the committees, even on Saturdays, Friday nights, emails, a lot of hard work. Also, in your mail, you probably received your calendar today. If not, your calendar will be there tomorrow. I received my 6-month calendar for the township. So, once again, I would like to thank council and administration for the hard work for the last 28 days. Next, we'll have the treasurer's report.
Good evening, council members, Council President Burke. May I have permission to share my screen?
Sure, go ahead. Treasurer.
I have to figure out how to do it now that I've asked. Okay, here we go. Uh-oh, which one is it? I think it's, I don't want to do the wrong one. Let's see, is it that one? Cover your eyes, everybody. Yeah, it's not that one. It's that one. All right, here we go. All right. Given that the American Rescue Plan is front and center this evening, I wanted to just point out a couple of things. There's a little mystery here I want to get solved that I think will help forward the conversation.
For those reads, what his report that he's about to read that he's showing on the video is also at the front table. I'm sorry, I brought them up late, so if you wanted to snag one before he starts reading, you have one that you can follow. Just wanted to let you know. Sorry, Treasurer Hayman, I was late getting your report up to the masses, so go ahead, Treasurer Hayman.
Okay, thank you very much. Just normally my report would look at the change in our cash position and spending looking back 1 month. Tonight, all I have are the reconciled bank statements that are the end of the month, December. So it gives us a complete view of the change in the bank positions in 2021, and most importantly, over the course of December. We don't have yet the other reports to look at. We can look at the money that was spent, but we can't look at what it was spent on or when it was spent because we don't have the full set of reports. So I'm just going to focus on the change in the bank statements because there is something in here I want to bring up, and I think I've mentioned it. It's kind of, I just want to make sure I understand it because it's hard to read just changes in numbers and really draw anything meaningful from them. So I just want to kind of point this one thing out, and I think it will be helpful to forward the conversation. What you're looking at on your report, and for those watching on the cast, you're looking at a select number of accounts from the general fund, and these are I selected these accounts based upon where ARP money could possibly be, and I excluded all the funds where ARP money could not be. We have 45, I say funds, I'm sorry, bank accounts. We have 45 bank accounts, and only this select group right here of about 11 of them could have anything to do with, at this time, the unallocated, unearmarked art money. And so I want to take you through a history of it and show you where we are at this, as of the end of December. In July, these are by month. You've got July, August through December, and then I did a December spend so we can see the change in the cash position from the beginning of December to the end of December. I included July, the months of July, because this is when the money first came in. And if you look down the July column, you'll see the PLIGIT. It stands for Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust. It's just the type of account where we can put money and we can earn interest on the money. So in July, $20,880,000 and a pizza party came in to our general checking account first, and then it was moved during July down to the PLIGIT so that it could earn interest. I heard a voice. Is there a question? Because I can't see you.
No question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, that's all right. In August, the money was still there. Remember, anything, the first $20.8 million is art money. Everything above that is just money that we're holding to earn some interest until we need it. When we get into September, at some point here in September, $36 million was moved from PLIGIT, including all of the art money, down into an account called PLIGIT Prime. Now, PLIGIT Prime earns a little higher interest rate than the general cash PLIGIT fund does. So that was moved down there. There's nothing wrong, by the way, there's nothing wrong with earning interest on this money. It's perfectly acceptable under the rules. So we moved from September to October, and here we're servicing our budget. Remember, all of our tax revenue comes in the first part of the year, and then we're starting to burn through it through the end of the year. And so we're hanging on until the end of the year. But you can see that the account in October is in excess of $20,880,000. We moved to December, and there's a very, very small change in that account. Here is my question. We get to the end of December, and now there's only $14,497,000 and that pizza party at the end of the month in December, and I have no other conclusion to draw except that that's all of that money is art money, and there's $6 million, and we're $6 million less than we started with. So the total spend out of that fund during the month was just under $12 million, with a total spend across these select accounts of about $14.399 million. And I'll just tell you, if I added the other accounts in, it's not much difference in the total December spend. So if I take the art fund at the bottom here, you see this last little summation. If I take the $20.8 million of art funds and I move the and I subtract the PLIGIT Prime account, I don't know where $6.3 million of this money went. Again, I'm not suggesting there's any problem here. I just need to find out what's going on. That's all.
I mean, Treasurer Heyman, we're just looking at the whole charter, speaking of President Burke. Feel free to comment during the ordinance on this. There's no time limit. But in our reading of the Home Rule Charter Administrative Code, this is well beyond the purview of the township treasurer, but, you know.
And David, I did text you. So, according to the solicitor.
But you're free to talk during the ordinance if you like, and give this very audit or whatever.
Okay, so Dave, we're gonna have to wait to finance and appropriation to make
Sure,
a comment.
no problem.
Send me a text that you need to make a comment. That's our treasurer. So do you have anything else for the treasurer's report?
No, that would conclude my remarks.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, we'll move the committee reports, Finance and Appropriation Committee. Chairwoman Laura Wentz.
Thank you. We have a public hearing this evening for ordinance 31, 181. Are the solicitors prepared to give us a?
Sure, I'll do a reading. All right, thank you very much. Now therefore, be it ordained as follows, Upper Darby Township Council makes the following supplemental appropriations for the 2022 budget, the American Rescue Plan allocation. Revenue replacement, $6 million. Flood mitigation and sewer upgrade, $6 million. Police and fire, $3 million. COVID relief and negative economic impacts, $2,500,000. Park and public spaces, $3 million. Total allocated funds, $20,500,000. There is a repeal clause. There is a severability clause. And then it talks about the date this ordinance may potentially be adopted, which is the second day ago. This ordinance has been duly advertised. And that concludes my reading, Madam Vice President.
Great, thank you. So at this point in time, President Burke, can we start a public hearing on ordinance 3111?
Sure, we can have anybody from the public who would like to speak about this ordinance.
So we need to open the public hearing.
Yep, open public hearing. Bonnie Hill, would you like to finish? Sorry about that.
Sorry about that. I tried to get it in fast. But I just want to pick it up by reminding everyone of the 5,000 acres of stream bank that we actually have here in Upper Darby. And talking about Kate Zerby is our resident expert on stream bank and streams from the Delaware River Feature Network, and she provided me with information on a report that was done by the Eco Northwest organization, and it highlights the economic value of riparian buffers, which are undeveloped strips of land by rivers, streams, ponds, and other bodies of water. Riparian buffers are already known to have significant ecological benefits from controlling flooding to preventing erosion to water purification. The new report highlights the monetized value of the many benefits of riparian benefits. Specifically, the report looks at the value of riparian buffers provide in the area of water quality, carbon storage, air quality, flood prevention, property value, wildlife habitat, and outdoor recreation. The report shows the economic value provided by riparian buffers far exceeds the cost of protecting and restoring these buffers. According to the report, translated to a single acre, buffers provide over $10,000 per acre per year in monetized benefits, with additional non-monetized benefits expected to increase this total. Most reports and discussions regarding buffer preservation focus on the health, safety, and environmental benefits. This report shows the incredible economic value riparian buffers provide as well, both in making money and saving money for communities. For Upper Darby, with its 5,000 acres of stream bank, that means a yearly savings of $50 million. This is not enough, there's not enough time for me to go into the economic benefits of things like more trees, more open space. But just as there are economic benefits to stream stabilization, these also bring economic benefits. The investment we would be making in using some of the ARPA funds for flood mitigation, sewer upgrades, parks, and public spaces would yield us millions of dollars in future economic benefits, while the health, community, and the social benefits, we can't even begin to put a price tag on. We've been doing a lot of work in the township, together with the township and the various groups that have been mentioned on restoring buffers, particularly at Gillespie Park. Last week, we took a trip to where the Swedish cabin is to see the erosion of the stream bank there and the potential threat to the Swedish cabin, which is a historic and precious site to the Upper Darby community. And we're now working with a bunch of groups to try to figure out how to restore the bank there. So this is a really important part of what you're trying to do, and I really encourage the council to put this money into this very important aspect of community health and wealth and community in Upper Darby. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kennedy, go ahead.
Colleen Kennedy, 8723 Westminster Pike. Before I just like say what I want to say, just for the sake of saving time, if there's anything that I've misunderstood about the 1 million in gun violence prevention, Vince, if you'd like to correct me on any of it. Like I don't, I'm going based on the press coverage and the 4-page PowerPoint. Like what is going on with the gun violence prevention $1 million? I was wondering if you could just briefly like tell us what's going on so that maybe I'll calm down a little bit about it.
Yeah, sure. So the, sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't-
Absolutely.
I didn't grab the-
Thank you, Counselor.
Sorry about that.
So yeah, I think the press coverage that you're referring to was a story by WHYY, and it outlined a number of different aspects, the mayor's commitment to making sure that we are using proven data-driven programs, that we are consulting with experts before we spend the money. The outside nonprofit that was mentioned in the article is actually a minority-founded nonprofit out of California called Advance Peace. And that's a program that uses previously incarcerated individuals for mentoring for at-risk youth. The program that I think is causing the confusion and concern is a program called TAPS, which is an internal pre-existing program of the Upper Darby Police Department. And it does stand for Teens and Police. It does involve police interactions with youth, which I do understand are potentially problematic. But the goal of the program is to provide a context outside of the context of policing for that relationship. And again, we are well versed in the behavioral health research and the public health research on what is and is not has and has not proven successful in the past. So we do understand, and that's why I point out that it's a legacy existing program of the police department. It's not an independent program. And it does not in any way attempt to put police or policing into the schools. It's in its best iteration, it provides a context where a relationship is formed outside of the context of enforcement or policing. So again, completely understand the hesitations with that.
Okay, I just have a couple more comments.
Yeah,
and then
sure.
Feel free to
No, absolutely.
correct after. So like my understanding from reading the article as well as clicking on the links in the article is that the TAPS program is actually a project of the U.S. Department of Justice. It stands for Community-Oriented Policing Services. And listen, I just have a lack of clarity about what the $1 million in this proposal is actually being spent on. But rather than argue about this program, I would just offer once again, and now the proposal is now emailed to Vince, that there's a county-wide program that is youth-centered, that is Black and brown led, that has proven success, and would actually teach young people how to resolve their tensions. It would actually provide jobs to young people, all these different things. And it's a proposal that's already been vetted because county council is about to vote on it. And so I would just offer that if you I haven't seen a plan for this $1 million, I just know that there's $1 million in that 4-page PowerPoint. I would offer that if there's a lack of clarity or disagreement about how to spend that $1 million, that you might want to research the plan that I've now emailed to Vince and see if maybe it would make sense to invest in that program instead of whatever it is. I'm gonna sit down, but I don't want to speak for other people in the audience, but I think we need more information than $1 million spent towards gun violence prevention. Like, I just don't think that's enough detail. And maybe I missed the meeting where more detail was shared, but I think before you vote on it, I would like to hear more detail about that.
Can I second?
Sure.
The program you're speaking about, would you send that to Public Safety Chair, Councilwoman Corrali, so she can look at it, the committee can look at it, so we can.
Yeah, so the TAPS program, is that what you're talking about, the thing I just.
The last program you were just looking at.
Yeah, sure, I can definitely send an email about
I appreciate that.
that. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, yes, yeah.
Sure, thank you. Ms. Kennedy, that's exactly the purpose of setting aside the money, so that we can research programs like the one that you brought forward, like Advanced Peace. The idea is that not all of the money is it's not already spent. The reason the category is broad is so that the money is set aside. So when we've made the determination of an evidence-based, public health-oriented solution to the problem, we have the money and we can pursue doing it. So
So I didn't mean to say any of that as a criticism.
no,
appreciate
that's,
that
I just want you to know
context. Okay, yeah.
that we're on the same.
So I think
Yeah.
the last thing I'll just quickly say, and then I really want to sit down because there's other people who want
Yeah.
to talk, is I work currently in this space. I'm not speaking on behalf of my employer, but I know from being in that professional experience that in Philadelphia as well as statewide, hundreds of millions of dollars have been invested in different organizations. And so when you're at the point where you all are trying to figure out how to spend this money, I would be happy to connect you to experts to figure that out, to make sure that the money goes to the best possible.
Thank you.
Anybody else need to step up?
Yeah, Treasurer Heyman.
Treasurer Heyman, are you there?
Hello.
Okay. Floor's yours.
Okay, I'll ask for direction this time since I misspoke, so I just want to know, what do you want to hear?
Hold on one second.
I said he's free to comment during the ordinance portion, because that's what he was commenting on, the ordinance, not related to President. That's what I told President.
Right, we heard his report.
Well, I had to stop
You look cut off.
due to the fact that the solicitor Richardson told me, which I texted him, told him to stop, and then,
They had the opportunity to comment.
we had to move to another time. Sorry, David, go ahead.
Do we want to go back to where we were?
You can start, David.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take us back to where we were. All right. Remember, I can't see you, so just yell loudly if you want me to stop. Here we go. All right, let me see again, figuring out where I'm at. I think it's that one. All right, so here we are. All right, so what I was illustrating is the change in the cash position, simply pointing out the numbers. Pointing out the numbers. So we finish, the December spend finishes up with the Pliget account where the art money is at $14.49 million. And that's below the 20.8. So what I'm posing to council here is there's where you are as you discuss the art money and the art money that you're going to allocate. I don't want to put any opinion on this. I'm not trying to put an opinion on this. I just want you to know what the numbers are, so that when you start talking about the numbers, you've got them in front of you. So the missing piece here, as far as I'm looking at, is this 6.3. So having said that, that's pretty much what I wanted to say. So I'll let you go with that.
Thank you, David. Chairperson, I'm sorry, Chairwoman Lynch.
So are there any other comments from the public on this ordinance? Do we want to, anyone else want to speak? Come on up. It's an open forum to come and speak on the ordinance. So just state your name and your address.
Right, my name is Gil Borman, 2776 Highland Avenue. I am the sewer foreman for Upper Darby Township, and I'd like to speak briefly on our sewer system, which greatly benefits from large-scale infrastructure improvements that we can use from the American Rescue Plan. Our system consists of approximately 100 miles of sanitary sewers and 90 miles of storm system. The vast majority of our sanitary sewer system is made of terracotta pipe, which some date back 100 years. The last couple of years, myself, Mike Alani, Joe Martin, Rick Keffer, and Vince Rondione have been working on upgrading and rehabbing our large interceptor lines, which are the main lines where all our sewer ends up. We have had large sections of the Cobb Street interceptor relined, and we have plans in the future to continue relining this line to our tie into Philadelphia. This line is very difficult to access, can greatly impact the environment when compromised, and costly when an issue would arise. The continued rehab and relining will greatly cut down the infiltration on our sewer system, which causes sewer system surcharges to points upstream. We have also had large-scale and costly emergency repairs made to our stormwater system, which flows through Fernwood Cemetery and is approximately 60 feet deep. This would be another area we're looking at to be proactive and address to avoid any future emergencies and costly expense to the township. We have proactive plans to address these lines and many others throughout the township, which are problem lines which would be very difficult and costly to make emergency repairs. This, of course, will be an ongoing process, but we hope to continue on in the future with upgrading and investing in our sewer infrastructure to provide the best service to the residents of Upper Darby Township. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gorman, for your expertise in the last, how many years you've been with Upper Darby and Sewer Department? Thank you.
Wanda?
Kyle McIntyre, 1040 Drexel Ave. I just want to start off by saying I support actually the distribution of the ARP fund or ARPA or whatever it is. The actual happening. I actually support the distribution. I think like it's actually allocated quite well. I don't really have any major issues with some of the things, except for obviously when we're talking about the gun prevention, the resources towards mental health is always the most important because, you know, target the root causes of gun violence. And I mean, if we lived in a perfect world, I'd say target the actual guns on the streets and get them off the streets. So gun buyback programs are probably the best way to go about that. I just wanted to actually ask a question about the overall funds, because I was reading this, the budget report or the treasurer's report. And is it saying that, and maybe you guys clarify this, that $6 million of the federal money has already been spent before approval?
No, that's not correct.
Okay, so then, I guess, could you clarify like what was being discussed, because that's how it came off.
Sure. No, I think there's a very real reason that the solicitor stopped the report, and there's a very real reason that the home rule charter limits council interference with the day-to-day operations of the township. Because if you produce reports without complete information, you run the risk of creating false panic in the public and saying things that are untrue. So I think, again, there's a very real reason that the home rule charter prohibits council from interfering in the day-to-day operations of the township. And there's a very real reason that the scope of the treasurer's report is limited. So this report does not include all of the operating accounts and all of the operating funds. So the township's operating balance exceeds the $20 million of funding. And so that's very.
So I'm just going to clarify. So the $6 million is still in township accounts. It has not been spent.
That is absolutely correct.
Okay. Is there going to be a process where we can expect like public and transparent audits of this? Because I know you guys have reporting metrics that you have to provide to the federal government, and I'm sure they'll find out if there isn't. Is those going to be provided to the public?
Yeah, so absolutely. Every month we provide financial reports to council. We provide those reports on all of our funds, including our capital funds. We'll provide them on the American Rescue Plan funds as well. In addition to, as you mentioned, the federal reporting guidelines and reports that we also have to produce. They, I'm sure, will be the subject of discussion at these meetings. Hopefully, they will be the discussion, the topic of discussion at these meetings, with all parties having knowledge and information in advance. I'm not afraid to say that we were informed that there would not be a treasurer's report for the second time in a row. And there was a treasurer's report, albeit far outside the allowable parameters under the home rule charter. So it's certainly my hope going forward that they will be the topic of discussion in good faith with complete information among all the parties. But the administration has every intention of providing the information as we do regularly with regard to the operating funds and the capital funds for the American Rescue Plan.
Okay, obviously, I know we'll wait till we hear any public reports and, you know, I just want to say that the way that was presented is extraordinarily concerning, especially if we're talking about the spending of federal money before approval. I mean, that has serious implications for not just the administration, but the township's ability to apply for future federal grants. So I really just hope it's just a bad Excel sheet or something, just please be more careful, because if that's the case, then that was very, very dangerous to do.
Agreed.
Mr. President, can I say something as well?
Sure, Mary Kay.
So the report that was presented by our treasurer was handed out to us just before the meeting started. Like, it just feels like, yeah, it's not done in good faith. We share our documents electronically. This obviously was at some point an electronic document. And it just feels like this is an attempt to hijack the process, which I think has been really open. And now there's a cloud hanging over this because these accusations are made, and the treasurer's not even here to do it in person. So this is really, this stinks. He's on the Zoom,
So,
not in person,
Yeah.
not in the room.
Yeah.
I think I just gave a pretty clear
Sure.
presentation of what's going on.
excuse me, Mayor Kuiper has the floor, please.
I think that's all I just want to say, you know.
So I would like to make a comment. Last meeting, the treasurer did not have the information to give the treasurer's report. This meeting, did the treasurer, in enough time, have all the information? And is the township books closed? As of what date, and did he have enough information to give a report to that?
The township books are closed, and before I got a chance to contact the treasurer, I was told that he was not giving a report.
Who told you he wasn't giving a report? Because it wasn't me. And I'm on the call.
Well, I'm not going to say who told me, but they did tell me they were told by you.
I went through the call and called you back and said, we need to put the treasurer's report, correct, Alexis?
You said.
10 minutes after our call.
But then you told me there wasn't.
No, I
have a report.
No, I just said he will be giving a report because I forgot to go through.
You did tell me that.
Yeah, that's my
And then
fault.
afterwards, it was that there wasn't going to be a report. And I said, I have to leave it on the agenda because it was already posted, so he can just announce
No, I
that
said
there's
he
not a
wouldn't.
report.
I said he wouldn't be here if he needed the information from you, Alexis, or Rose. I don't believe I would ever say that when I asked you to have the information for him to be hired. So it's a miscommunication, but on the agenda call, it was my fault when we went down the agenda call. And then I called you back 10 minutes later saying that I forgot to tell you to put it on. And then I called the other day asking for the information. And you spoke to me and you said that he would get it from Rose.
That was for a Zoom link.
Yes, for his treasury report. Now, if I said something, I didn't know, I don't believe I said that he wasn't giving a report when I was asking for a Zoom link. Otherwise, he could have hopped on YouTube at any given time. So if it was miscommunication, it was miscommunication. But I still don't believe the treasurer had enough time, with the books being closed at a certain time, to give an actual report, which she would have been given 2 weeks ago.
The books were not closed 2 weeks ago.
And that's when his report would have been, correct? And we had to forfeit his report. So,
But he didn't get the documents that he needed. He made a report this evening on the documents that he did have, but not on the documents that he needed to make the normal report.
No. We need to be very clear about what's happening. The administration has shown tremendous good faith and deference to the treasurer, providing them access and information to the township financials for the last 2 years. Access and information to the township financials that they are not entitled to by law, that they are not entitled to under the provisions of the Home Rule Charter. Access and information regarding the township's financials that have never been provided to the township treasurer since the charter was changed with regard to the treasurer's duties. So the fact is that the good faith and effort of the administration is being used against us. The treasurer does not have a legal right to any of that information. We have been bending over backwards to provide the treasurer with information and with access to the township financials so that they could inform the public. So none of that is required. It is all over and above what is required of the administration. That is what has been happening for the last 2 years, and it's important that the public understands that. I think that council understands it. And so the context for this conversation is incredibly bizarre and out of whack with the reality of what's happening here.
So for us to make the right decision as council, we need to have the financial support and the information for us to pass ordinances. If we don't have the financial information in time to make the right decision, we're liable, all 11 of us. And I believe, hold on, I have the floor.
I don't know how you're using the word liable, but you're not liable.
Well, these numbers didn't come from somewhere. They came from somewhere, so I don't know, and there's been a lot going back and forth for 2 weeks of your time, council's time, solicitor's time. And I don't think we're there yet. I think we're pretty close, but we're not there. If we don't have $20 million and $880,000 in a separate account, how can we vote on it? Do you have a bank statement? Do you have an account that we can draw from? We don't know. So if there's no other comments from the public,
There is.
okay,
There is.
we're going to take public comment now.
Olivia Taylor, 204 Kimball. I just want to say I am for the sewer ordinance, the part for the sewer. 69th Street and Marshall Road has a habit of flooding. I, for one, lost a car 2 years ago. Businesses were lost. So yeah, I'm partly for the sewers being redone. And about the budget, I think, this administration hasn't been transparent. And, I think that's where the cloud is coming from there. And now it's brought to the floor in this forum. And you guys have to be more transparent and explain what's going on with the budget. And don't confuse it with this $20 million stimulus money. Those are two separate entities that should not be included together. So that's where the cloud's coming from. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Anybody else from the, sir?
Yeah, so, I made a time that I was allowed, right, it was just 3 minutes, so we couldn't, read it. And, as I stated before, we are here to, support this bill. But equally so, we have to be fair, because what we are doing, being a community leader and a community person, I always get questions from people asking me, like from here tonight, I'm gonna answer some questions. Even though I'm not obligated to do that, but I commit myself to doing that. So, I just want to, recommend something in regard from what I'm seeing here and hearing and everything that I, review before coming here regarding the fund that we are discussing. I think information is one of the major problem with what is out there. But people are just looking at the big picture. Some of what you put on the list, we're not breaking down. So moving forward, I would just appeal to the council there. I mean, like I said, we are all here to work with you. Because I remember breaking out some things today just from listening to your town hall meeting regarding some of those things on the list. For example, to upgrade the sewer. It was the lady that asked me, why is it that they want to use this money to do? So I clearly told her that, look, first of all, I remember when some work was done on my street here. When I came outside, I saw what I saw with a pipe. It was kind of really make me to feel bad. Where I was drinking water is coming from. So if you are going to fix this thing, because we don't even know how much of a leg can be poisoned into that water to come to our houses or to homes. So if you're going to upgrade that, I'm for that. We are going to benefit. So I'm just recommending that council, the administration, when it comes to information, let us be low transparent, so that people will understand exactly what you are doing. But this budget, I mean, for us, I understood what is in it, but a lot of people have issue with some of the terms that are used and they're too big, not breaking down. So I'm just asking, appealing to the council. We will be out there to break things down, but try to make it easier for us. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Once,
Is there anyone else from the public who'd like to speak on this ordinance? Is there anyone else from the public? Treasurer Hayman, do you want to say anything else? If you're not physically here.
I had to find the mute button. Sorry about that. Well, yes, well, since I've been accused of acting in bad faith, I just want to say, and I thought I prefaced this when I started this statement, that I wasn't making any judgment on what I see. I'm just reflecting back the change in the cash balances from information that was given to me. And I think I responsibly reported on that. If you don't like the numbers, if you don't like what you see, then tell me or tell the council or tell the public what's wrong with those numbers. And that's what I have to say.
Just one question for you, Treasurer Hayman. Did you get the reports that you have in the past prior to a meeting so that you could make the normal reporting that you would normally do?
The normal reporting that I do, if anyone cares to check, is to first explain the change in the cash balances and then make a statement about the change in the spending over the prior month. So this was nothing more than what I normally do. The only difference is I focused in on the art because I see something that I think questions need to be asked. I'm not accusing anybody of doing anything wrong. I'm just saying these are the numbers. This looks like something that you need to explore and answer. You're about to appropriate $20.5 million and you might not have $20.5 million. That's the point. It's not saying anybody did anything wrong. And to get to your question, Councilwoman Wentz, I don't have the information at this time to do the other half of my report. It's not being disrespectful to anybody in the administration. Yes, they are very forthcoming about giving the information. This time I don't have it. It's not a negative on them. I just don't have it. That's a fact. So I do, that's it. I mean, that's it.
And can you state your address for the record?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm David Hayman. I live at 727 Stanbridge Road in Drexel Hill.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that wanted to speak on this ordinance? Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I think it's a good time to
Oh,
close.
no, I'm sorry. I'll speak as a member of the public if I'm not going to get a chance to speak as a member of the administration.
Sure.
Vincent Rongione, 337 Shadeland Avenue. So Treasurer Heeman was provided with a document, the heading of which was Upper Darby Township Analysis of Operating Funds for the month of December 2021. That document clearly indicates that in total, our operating cash balance is in excess of $22.5 million. So that document clearly indicates that there is more than the ARP funding available in our operating cash account. That information was provided to the treasurer. I am actually the one not accusing anyone of anything. I have no interest in understanding or trying to guess at what people's motives are. I do know that the treasurer was provided with this document. I do know that it's in front of me. As a matter of fact, I do know that it was not routinely provided to me by the previous finance director, and I actually discovered it quite by accident during the transition. Again, I'm not going to speculate about why that happened or what inappropriate or illegal things may have transpired. I really have no interest in that. But what I do know is that the treasurer was provided with this report, Upper Darby Township Analysis of Operating Funds for the month of December 2021. And that document clearly indicates an excess operating cash balance over and above the ARP fund. So I really think that there's a reason why these conversations and information should be shared in advance with one another. Like, if I had had any kind of appropriate warning to analyze this document that was handed out, I would be able to point out the discrepancies and the reason why it doesn't accurately show what's happening. It is true that the general fund account has a roughly $14 million balance. But the general fund account does not represent all of our operating cash accounts. And so I think that we should actually be giving the council and the public the assurances that the money is there. And to the question and the debate about a single bank account, there was some misunderstanding with council. Because council was trying to act outside, or some members of council were trying to act outside of their statutory authority with regard to how they can direct the administration. But the reality is, the administration has always understood that the money should be segregated in a separate account. It's always been the administration's intention to do that. And the administration has committed in writing to have the money segregated into a separate account and report on it regularly to council. So I really don't understand what's happening here. Those things have been said in public, they've been said in private, they've been put in writing, I've now said them again. I printed out those emails and put them in council's packet in advance of the meeting in case anybody didn't see the emails so that they would have them in advance as much as possible. And that's.
So I actually have a question on what you just said. So you're saying that there's 22.5 million. So you're saying that we only have 2 million left after having a surplus of 10 million at the end of November?
Roughly that is accurate. There are a lot of expenses that one-time annual expenses that hit at the end of the year, sick time buybacks and other contractually obligated payouts. So December is a large spend month on the budget every year.
But not to the dropping us down to only having 2 million left in the bank. Normally, we would get a tran to help cover us for January, February, March, but we never dropped down to 2 million. We maybe had like 5 million in the bank in our fund balance for a rainy day fund, but we never dropped down to $2 million, at least not since I've been on council.
That's actually not correct, but regardless, It's also important for people to know that a tax revenue anticipation note actually costs the taxpayers in excess of $250,000. It's a very expensive financial instrument for the township. It's not just something that happens. With all due respect, again, there's a very real reason why the home rule charter prohibits council interference in the day-to-day operations, because if you don't understand and don't have the information, it's very difficult for you to comment meaningfully on the process. So the TRAN costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the idea that we would have lost revenue from the American Rescue Plan and not have to spend the taxpayers' money on a TRAN actually was very fiscally responsible. The hope at the time was that council would see that and be willing to pass an American Rescue Plan budget that included a lost revenue portion, saving us hundreds of thousands of dollars that we would otherwise have to spend. Now, we do have plans in case what has happened here tonight happens, because it's our responsibility to be prepared for any worst case scenarios that might happen. And so we're prepared to evaluate our incoming tax revenue and other potential financial instruments that will help us bridge the gap until revenues come in. The tax revenue anticipation note is not the only financial instrument that can accomplish that goal.
So just to clarify, because I do understand that the TRAN does cost funds, and I do understand that the reason why we didn't do a TRAN was because we had park funds coming in for the lost revenue. But what I do understand, as having been on council since 2018, and I've been very meticulous about the budget and about our funds and what we have, and I drilled the previous administration, because I know they can tell you and confirm that with you about our funds. And I do not recall us dropping down to $2 million after the month of December, heading into January. So to treat me like I don't know what I'm talking about, or I'm not educated, or I'm uninformed, is really disrespectful and rude. Just to be clear, the fact that we're dropped down $2 million, that's a big deal for our township, because I know that in our fund balance, we need to have at least 3 months worth of funds tucked away for protection in case of emergency situation. If you're saying we only have $2 million left, it means that that's all we have. So our savings account, our 10 million surplus that we had in the end of November is not there anymore.
There was no 10 million surplus in the end of November, and we have almost never had 3 months of operating expenses. What you're referencing is a best practice from the GFOA. We're supposed to have 3 months, but that doesn't mean that we have had 3 months. And that fact was included in the budget presentation last year and the budget presentation this year. We've tried to make very clear to council that we are not meeting that standard. We have tried to make that very clear to council and the public that neither the previous administration nor this administration has been able to meet that standard because of some of the spending practices and contracts that are in place in the township. I mean, I don't have any problem saying that, because I've said it at public meetings many times before. I mean, it's just a fact.
And I understand that we have not been able to make that goal. I realize that. But the reality is we were trying to make an attempt to make that goal, but obviously it was unsuccessful. But I do find it very disturbing that we are at $2 million at the end of December, heading into this year. So I'm done.
Thank you, Councilwoman. My question is, if we're council interference, then why are we before this body to approve this ordinance? If you're saying we can't interfere, why is the ordinance in front of us? If we're interfering, why are we voting on the ordinance? You're saying that we're interfering with day-to-day operations, and this is part of day-to-day operation, this 20 million, right?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Well, you're saying that we're interfering.
I'm saying that ex parte communication with administration staff and receiving incomplete information is interference. Yes, I am saying that. I'm not saying that council passing legislation is interference. Council passing legislation is council's prerogative. It is the function of the legislative branch of government to pass legislation. It is not the function of the legislative branch of government to meet ex parte and produce reports on minimal information without consultation with the mayor and her staff. Like, they're two very different things. Of course, it's your purview to pass legislation. I don't understand the question.
Okay, so we're here to pass or not pass this ordinance.
We're actually still in the public hearing.
Okay.
Have we closed the
So-
public hearing?
Okay, so Mary Pepper would like to speak. She was first, and then Michelle, I'm sorry, Secretary.
Thank you, Council President Burke. I just wanted to point out that Upper Darby can't get a TAN or a TRAN until the audit is done. Right? That wasn't available to us towards the end of the year. The audit has to be done, and then we can go get the TAN or the TRAN.
Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
A question for, the solicitors, maybe you can answer it, because no one seems to be able to answer, not the treasurer, not the finance committee. Is the money there?
As solicitor, I don't know if the money is there or not. I'm a legal officer. Look at the charter and legislation, I don't check financials.
Folks are having trouble hearing you.
I'm sorry, say it again?
Folks are having a little trouble hearing you.
My question was, is the money there? Because I'm hearing all these numbers and everything, and 2 million and 20 million, and the money was spent and all this stuff like that. Is the money there? That's my question. Is the money there?
He said he doesn't know.
Yeah, as the solicitor, I don't know.
Allison Dobbins, do you know if the money is there?
Yes, the money is there. There is some confusion with the report that was provided to me right before the meeting.
Okay.
There are funds.
Because everybody's, can I just say this one thing? And I'm sorry if I'm getting loud, because I'm not understanding, right? Everybody is trying to change the narrative, but the narrative is the money is there, and, you know, you want all these, you want the different bank accounts and all this stuff like that. But I remember that there are line items, and there are things that we can do. The money is in different accounts, well, not different accounts, but there are line items that say X, Y, and Z, and this is here, and this money is for this, and we're getting updated, we're gonna get monthly updates about how the money is being spent, and we're being transparent. Could we be more transparent? Yes, I think so. Yes, I do, and we need to be, you know, but all this stuff about all this other, it's, quite frankly, it's getting on my nerves, and you guys don't hear me being loud. You don't. You know, but you need to change the narrative back to where it needs to be, because this is for the people of Upper Darby. This is not for us. I think you guys are missing the point, right? So once again, is the money there?
Yes.
Okay.
Just one question. When will the audit be finished?
No.
Is that?
So that's the question. So Mayor Pepper said that we couldn't get a train because the audit isn't finished.
Sorry.
So we've been talking about the audit for 4 months. When will the audit be finished? And when will the audit for 2021? So we're talking about the audit for 2021 or 2020 that's not finished?
Yeah.
Yes to what, 2020?
Yeah.
Okay, so the audit of 2020 is not finished. So by June, the audit of 2021 should be finished, correct?
Well, one question at a time.
Okay.
I spoke to the auditor today. He plans to deliver a draft of the audit on Saturday, and we have him on the schedule to deliver his audit report at a council meeting in March.
And is that for 2020?
Yeah, and it's really, we've been behind, and we're trying to catch up. It's really actually April. And, you know, we are trying to get caught up on the audit, yes.
Because I'm not gonna blame COVID, because there's people in here and we're not at our houses on YouTube. So I'm tired of blaming COVID, of delays, for audits, or whatever, so. If I don't have an audit, how can I honestly say yes to anything? It's just, I don't know.
Can I make a motion?
Councilman Hayden would like to speak, and then Councilman Tunish.
Can we have a motion to close public comment, please?
Wait, Councilman Hayden had his hand up first.
Well, Councilman, Andrews will just present.
I'm sorry, thank you. Councilman Briscoe.
Yeah, just looking for a little clarification here. If I understood correctly in the treasurer's public comment, you said that these are the 11 accounts that we're allowed to allocate these funds to. But the conversation seems to be that there's funds in other general funds for the township. Just two parts here. So are you stating that there are other accounts that's permitted, and if permitted by the member of charter? Time your request, we get a statement for those accounts submitted to the finance committee?
Yes, and sure.
Thank you.
And thank you, Councilman Hayden.
I wanted to say, I mean, this is, my first month here, not even a full month as a president noted previously. But I don't know what our previous practice is or what we intend to do going forward, but documents like this, I mean, this is the second meeting in a row that the document was provided directly at the beginning of the meeting with little or no context given until halfway through the meeting. And, if this is an allegation, I'm not saying it is necessarily, but if it is, we would think that this should be brought forward, yes, in a public meeting, but also should be brought forward when it is found. I don't know when this was completed. If it was 6 o'clock today, then I get it. But, this is again, the second time that council members have provided a document and not been given necessarily full context, and the administration has not had the opportunity to review and perhaps provide a rebuttal. We're hearing from the administration that they're saying that these funds are in bank accounts. I have no reason to not believe that right now unless they could provide this material, but they aren't able to do that when we get these things at 7:02. I think that's inappropriate. I have some comments to that effect about what had happened in the previous meeting that I intend to do under new business. But I just want to say that something like this, if it's serious, I don't know why it needs to wait until 7 o'clock.
Thank you, Councilman Hayden and Councilman Toombs.
Yes, thank you, President Burke, and I apologize, I thought that at the public comment council had a chance to come, so I apologize. I work for the federal government, and I've seen how a lot of these programs help the resident. President Biden's child tax credit, right, for example, it cut child poverty half 50%. It took families from living week to week to being able to afford that extracurricular program for their child and stimulate an interest that could lead them down the line to having a career or things like that. These funds are designed to help our township, designed to help residents. We're getting in the conversation of semantics, and we're talking about things that the goalposts are just moving. Now people are saying we can't vote about this, we can't vote about that. But in the previous meeting, there was an amended report brought forward by the council, the finance chairperson. And in the report, there was a whereas clause that took away the power and oversight of council. So what I'm trying to display to the general public is the committee person of the finance, the chairperson of the finance committee, I'm not sure if they understand what they brought forward. Because and if you watch this, it's all on YouTube, it's all public record. If you watch the previous meeting, there were things brought forward. I don't think this was everyone in the finance committee, I find it hard to believe. But there was a document brought forward, it had a lot of things in there. Some of them were borderline illegal, some of them were not even able to be covered under the Biden plan. And that was supposed to be pushed forward. And just like this document, which our fee students never had a copy, just like this document, it was given to us, I think the last document was given to us 5 minutes before it was presented. So it's a common pattern here, and I think we need to be united on this. This helps residents. You see residents talking about open spaces. You see residents talking about gun prevention. We even added more funds for the police and fire. So it's like, I understand some people are confused, and maybe I'm a little biased because I work in this field, but I think it's very important that we listen, we pay attention to what we've been forward, and we do the research. Because there was an amended report brought forward last week that was supposed to take the place of this, that did not. It was a total, in fact, I will state on the record, 2 years on council, it was the most embarrassing document for the taxpayer. It was truly disrespectful to the taxpayer because they elect us to do our homework. And that amended report did not have the homework. Today I received a 60-page PowerPoint that I saw 3 weeks ago. So it tells you that some members are just getting this information and getting it, like, I think it's important to look at the overall goal. The constituent, how does it affect the average constituent? I've seen this already, so I'm saying.
Thank you, Councilman Tunis. And Councilman Silva?
Yeah, I'm sorry, look, I think it's getting heated and I agree, I think our funds are really gonna do a lot of great things for the township, and I can't wait for them to get implemented, but I myself don't feel comfortable if there is a concern about the fund. And I mean, if it's something that you can just clarify and correct, that would be great. I would feel much better knowing that. And I feel like what would be the best move for all of us at this time is to just table this for now. We'll get the correct information from the township, from the administration, or whoever needs to give us the correct information. And then we can move forward with a clear conscience, because what I'm looking at isn't giving me a clear conscience. So that's just my proposal. I'm not trying to step on toes or kick anybody in the shins. I'm just, it's just from where I'm at, that's what makes the most sense.
You know it's gonna be another allocation in May. You know it's gonna be another allocation in May, and are we gonna have the same issue again in May? I'm just asking the question.
No.
Yeah, I think so, because it sounds like the same issue, because oh, I'm sorry. It's gonna be another allocation that's gonna be coming up in May or April, right? We're already in February. I'm sorry, Deputy CAO. It's gonna be another allocation that's gonna come around in May. And it's gonna be the same issue, because we, and I'm including me, did not listen to the public. I get it that there may be some, I don't know, whatever it is, technical issues or whatever people may have with, the money thing or whatever. But Bill Kaplan said it best, right? About how we spend this money. Listen to what the people of Upper Darby are saying and listen to what their plans are. I don't think that we're doing it. I don't think that we're listening to what the people are saying. We're making decisions and we're not listening. That's my 2 cents.
Good. Thank you, Secretary Phillips. Councilwoman Wagner, you haven't spoken yet?
Thank you. I want to make something really clear. I don't think anyone on this council, whether you want to vote for this tonight or do not, believe that these funds should not be allocated and should not be used for the betterment of Upper Darby. And I think that we all realize that they will be. My concern, however, is twofold. And I'm not saying I won't vote on this eventually. I think that there has been work that's been put into it, but I'm uncomfortable with some of this information. I agree with Councilman Silva that tabling this would probably be the best way to go so that we can get some more clarification. But in addition to that, I'm going to ask this question because there seems to be a lot of confusion about a lot of these numbers. And I know that we've been without a finance director since, I believe, July. Is that correct? So my question right now is going to be, where are we with that?
CAO, I know you touched on this, you answered this 2 weeks ago, or I believe you did, about 2 people on the running, and, you answered that 2 weeks ago, about 2 people on the running?
I did. Interviews are ongoing. I wouldn't exactly, it's a little incomplete to characterize it as we've been without a finance director for the last 2 months. We've added a number of finance professionals and contractors to the staff to support the finance operation. Previous finance director is still in the building, working with the finance department. So it's a little incomplete to simply say we've been without a finance director since July.
Now, the interview process, I'll get to you, CEO. The interview process, is a financial director or is it a controller that we're looking for? Because the ad that came out 3 months ago Upper Darby's looking for a controller. So are we looking for a controller or a finance director?
I believe it was finance director / controller, and the idea actually was to find someone who was even more focused on exactly these kind of administrative and accounting questions. Yeah.
Councilwoman, Deputy CAO.
Yeah, I was,
Dobbins, and then, Vice President Montefiore.
I did want to clarify that, the previous finance director did not resign until September of 2021. So, I mean, I get 2 months semantics, but, and has been certainly very involved. And then I think the other point that I just really want to make sure that all council understands that if by tabling this, we will then not be able to use, the revenue replacement funds as kind of our bridge gap. And so we will have to go after rather expensive financing sources to cover the cost. The money is there, and I can explain, you know, we can go into what the Citizens Bank account and the $3.4 million in there. It was transferred out of Pliget. There was some confusion in the absence of the finance director in terms of where the ARP funds were placed. We thought we all understood that they were to be placed in a separate bank account. And so that was why it was taken out of Pliget, but it doesn't mean the funds don't exist. They do exist just in other bank accounts that we absolutely would have used if we had understood what was going on in the Pliget general fund, because general fund, there was some confusion there. And so the funds exist. I really do want to make sure that everyone understands that by tabling this, that will likely require that we go after some short-term financing that will be more expensive than the train would have been. I'm just sure.
Thank you, Deputy CAO Dobbins, and Councilwoman Wagner would like to respond to that.
I'm not, by the way, suggesting that this should be tabled for a month. I'm suggesting it should be tabled for a couple weeks. But I gotta tell you that you're telling me there was some confusion about where $20 million was put. That is unacceptable. That is unacceptable.
I absolutely understand. Trust me, I was very upset myself.
So my question is, and to wrap this up before Vice President Wentz takes over, I believe Mr. Andrusko just asked for 2 other bank accounts where the money is, and CAO Rangione said that he would get that to Andrusko and the Financial Committee?
Yeah, just clarifying, it wasn't necessarily 2 bank accounts, it was whatever bank accounts are holding this money.
Okay, so, thank you. And, Vice President Wentz.
Okay.
Yeah, Vice President Wentz, and then right after you, Councilman Heyman had his hand up, I'm sorry.
Okay, so there's a couple of clarifications. Councilman Tunis referred to this packet that I just handed out to council. It is a webinar that took place January 31st, which is Monday. I took part in the webinar. It's from the Pennsylvania League of Municipal League. It was about the American Rescue Plan Act, Local Fiscal Rescue Fund, and the final rule. I sent out, when I discovered I had that invite to the event, I sent it out to all of council, I believe Sunday night, to let them know that was going on. I took part in the webinar, and then on Tuesday, I received from the Municipal League, the link to the webinar and the slides. I shared that information with them. I forgot to share the slides, but I printed it out and I said that I would get it to them in their folders. It was a large packet. I was here at 6 o'clock this evening, working on printing it out, or 6:15 by the time I got up into the municipal clerk office, and municipal clerk Cicchetti helped me to get this rolling, to print it out, to have it for them. But they had the link, they had the opportunity to watch it. So I shared it with you as soon as I got it. I shared it with you, and this is not, you referred to this as something from 2 weeks ago. This is something from Monday.
You
The
said
report
that.
from Monday,
You said
okay?
that on
So that was misinformation you provided. This is from Monday, okay? So just for clarification on it, there were other things thrown around, but I just wanted to clarify, this thing is from a report that came out on Monday. It is on our council page, it's on my personal council page, councilwoman page, so just for that clarification. Another clarification, I love I like the allocations to the public spaces, to the environment, to the redoing of our sewer lines, our restoring our creek banks, the gun violence prevention, all those things, all these allocations are excellent and definitely something that we need to do. And as well as the funds for the essential workers. That is all important stuff. All these things, I believe every council person here agrees, all these things we need to do, but we have to do it in a common sense way. And the fact that we asked in the amendment that Councilman Tunis mentioned, at the last meeting, was for the funds to be separated in a separate bank account. They had not been separated. You've had the money for at least 8 months and you did not separate it at any time during those 8 months. And you gave us a hard time for asking for it to be separated at the last meeting. So therefore, now you're saying, oh, we're starting to separate it. Like it's a brand new idea to separate the funds. It should have been separated from the beginning because it was not supposed to be commingled with our everyday tax revenue so that you didn't accidentally spend the funds. So, I mean, just to clarify, yes, I support all the allocations. I think it's really important. I'm really glad that we have these allocations, but I want to do it correctly. And I'm concerned that if these funds have been moved around, because if you were going to move the ARPA funds out of the general fund budget account, you would move all of it. All 20.8 million, you would have removed it and put it in its own actual account, but that's not what happened here. And that's what's concerning. So therefore, CAO Rangioni mentions that we have 22.5 million, which means we only have 2 million of township everyday operating funds to continue to function with the township. That's very concerning too. But the problem is, without the end of December 31st reports that council would have had by now that we still don't have, or our finance director does not have either, or sorry, not finance director, apologize, our treasurer does not have, we can't get a proper report, okay? So because we would have the packets here on our desk for us to go through as well. We haven't received the end of December either, okay? So it's not like we could have gone through it or given him the packet because we haven't received it either. The concept of tabling it is to make sure all the funds make sense and it's all clarified so that we can do it correctly. And we are, as council, obligated. If we pass something without knowing it's all there or the chance that something funky happened, we are responsible for it. If we pass it and it's not correct, and we thought maybe it's not correct, we are responsible. We are the last, if we don't get for it, and things are wrong, and we were concerned that things were wrong, and we didn't call it out, then we are ultimately responsible for it. As the township legislation, if we're passing an ordinance, and there's funk in the land, and we pass it anyway, it's like I've never voted for a bad budget, and wasn't gonna start in 2022 either. Or for the 2022 budget without fixing it first. So I just needed to clarify this.
Thank you, Vice President Lynch. And can I take Ms. Kennedy first, since she's standing up, and then I'll get to Royale, because she hasn't spoken yet. She hasn't spoken yet. And Council, Caroline, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Colleen Kennedy, 8723 Westchester Way. I think everybody in this room is quite frustrated, and that's understandable. This is really important. These funds are really important. They need to be spent properly. And as Ms. Dobbins mentioned earlier, it is time sensitive. That being said, the public isn't any better informed now than they were 45 minutes ago, and that's a failure on all of us. And we all need to do better. We need to be less defensive. We need to have better transparency and interaction between the different branches of government. I'm gonna ask a simple question right now. I guarantee I'm gonna get a couple of different answers. How many bank accounts do we have in Darby Township? What is the answer to that question? Do we all have the same understanding of what that number is? What is that number? How many bank accounts?
No clue.
No idea. Treasurer Hammond reported tonight that we had 45 bank accounts, but is there a new bank account that he did not know about, or that he did not get the check in the balance?
Okay, so that being said though, like, we don't have clarity among everyone, and there's no sense in figuring out who's at fault. We need to come up with a plan to fix that. So one obvious thing that needs to start to happen, starting immediately, is the actual physical bank statements from each of those bank accounts need to just be released onto the website. We can have analysis from Treasurer Hayman, we can have debate about the documents, we can talk about whether this document arrived on time or didn't arrive on time. But the bottom line is, these are our taxpayer dollars, and we don't have the same understanding of how many bank accounts we have. I don't really care whose fault it is, I really don't. And I also want these funds that we have from the federal government that we rarely ever get to pass tonight. And I also want all of us to have a basic sense of responsibility that since we're in all of this confusion right now, we probably need to have more public hearings about the minutia of how these funds are spent. But I would hate to see us lose money because of all of this dysfunction that's going on. It's ridiculous.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm gonna close the public hearing. I'm gonna close.
Standing up and speak.
Go ahead.
My name is David Banjo. I'm pastor of David Banjo of the Darby. I don't know what is going on here now, but I just feel that what is going on with the council and everybody away is not fair for us. We are here to support the approval of things that we need in our various community. You asked us to help you. Now we are here with all these things going on. It is not fair, please. So I think I will go along with Council Wagner. If this thing can be suspended tonight, let us do another public hearing. I stated it initially that even we had difficult time with the information that we received from you with a list of things on our list. People had issues because it was incomplete information. So you can't even explain because they are looking at the big picture. Nothing there is in depth as far as breaking things down would be concerned. For example, gun violence. Okay, you want to prevent gun violence, but what are the programs that, they say on gun violence, where the money gonna go? But we still struggle with explaining things because we have prior knowledge with what are some of these things the money can be used for, and how we understand the act that is filed by the president with what is needed on that program. So for us to be here tonight, you call on us to support you, and you cannot even get a housing order. It's not fair for us. So please, we are begging you, Upper Darby, we want the best out of Upper Darby, Mayor. We are all willing to work with you, but not something like this, please. So, I mean, if you can put your thing forward, we have to have another public hearing. Because it's crazy to even hear tonight that you guys have 45 bank accounts. What is that? What kind of stuff is that? So everybody has little account, is that what it is? Or the 45 account is for what? For every council member? Oh, no, I don't know who's the speaker. Who's the money person? You?
Thank you for your comments.
Okay, so I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Finding how.
I'm gonna say just the opposite. I think that we're looking about a whole bunch of smoke and mirrors here. The point of this tonight is to approve the allocation of the ARPA funds. That is the point of this ordinance, to approve the allocation of it, not to discuss where the money was put, what bank account it's in, who's got the budget to today, yesterday, whatever. That is not the point of all this. And it's really frustrating to me to see you up here doing this with our time and with our intentions. Your public has spoken. We said, we want this passed. We don't want to incur any more debt for having to carry over to borrow money in order to pay for things. If you pass this, then we will have the funds in the account that we can pay for what we need to pay for. But if you continue to hold this up, then you're wasting your time, you're wasting our time, and all we're doing here tonight is supposedly saying that, yes, we want to allocate these funds in this way. And that's what we should do right now. We should pass this, and we should do it now, and then you can worry about where all the money is afterwards. The money's here. It's here. We already heard it's here. We know it's here. So let's allocate the funds, and let's let everybody go home.
Thank you, Michelle. Ms. Taylor, you'll be speaking, and then I'll be closing public comment.
Thank you. Olivia Taylor, 204 Kent. Listen, everything in this ordinance, we need. But after listening to all this, I think it should be tabled. Okay, I was here last meeting when she tried to separate, Laura tried to separate it. And now you missed $20 million? Are you kidding me? I'm not asking, I'm just making a statement. And, you know, you brought it back up in new business and it passed. So now this is where we're at. But now you want us to rush and approve something. We don't know where it's at. Are you kidding me? And listen, me and Laura had our differences and we may have more in the future, but she was correct when she said to separate the two. We wouldn't be here if you'd done it. And everyone is typing how they feel and pass it, do this. No. Why would you pass something if you're not sure? And if it has to be more money spent because it may get tabled, that's your fault. Not ours. That is your fault for not separating it from the beginning. So this is where I stand, and I may be the only one that feels this way, and it's okay. But no, don't pass this, table it, and find out where everything is at. And to have 45 bank accounts? Are you kidding me? And then to misappropriate 20 million, not $20 or $200, $20 million is ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Back to, I have already,
She hasn't spoken yet.
okay, go ahead.
Hi, Rachel Fagevitz, 18 Hemlock Road. I just want to say, I mean, the fact that everyone has worked for the township as long as they have, no one knowing until tonight that there were 45 bank accounts, like that's, to me, that seems kind of embarrassing. So when you make a statement, Councilwoman Wentz, about how, you know, I don't want to pass like a faulty budget. I don't want to pass until this information is here because I don't want to make a mistake. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone here had an opportunity to know how many bank accounts you had, and none of you did. So when we're talking about allocating funds that's going to improve the neighborhood, the money's there. Why spend more tax dollars and waste more of our time on, you know, we need to make sure this information is here. Of course, you need to make sure that you have the money, but the money is there. So don't you think by allocating the money tonight, it'll make it easier to know what bank accounts you have to put these different monies in, instead of being like, oh, oops, we spent $20 million on this because it hasn't been allocated yet. So allocate it and create some clear direction in which the township can start to spend this money. Thank you.
I'm so sorry, I know you guys probably want to go. I'll just be really brief. When I started with my first comment, I didn't know this was going to devolve into this embarrassment, to be honest. But and I'm not going to point fingers at like who has caused it, but I I think the community had, like, I've always been one to preach transparency, accountability, etc. And I think that if anything, since this is a council committee meeting, not an actual council meeting, there should be some ordinances on the next docket regarding transparency. I think that that's clear. I think that that's really honest. And even when it comes to communication between our branches of government, I think that that's something that honestly council should take up, and they should look at how we do our procedures and how we can improve them. That being said, I just have one question. Is this a framework for how we would spend the money? It's just a framework.
Yeah.
So I'm just like taking the hypothetical. And like, I mean, I know we said the money's there, but if the money is there and we allocate the spending and the money is there, it'll get spent for whatever council approves tonight.
Correct.
Okay. I think everyone agrees on how this spending would be allocated. So we can pass that. Now, regardless of like where the money is, blah, 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 that's something that can be sorted out honestly behind closed doors, because this was an absolute embarrassment for the public to have to witness, the infighting. But I think when we're talking about just a framework, you can pass that tonight and you should pass that tonight. And honestly, I hope to never see this again. And I also wish that some people on council would stop writing and actually pay attention to the community when they have something to say.
All rights knowable, by the way.
Yes, all right to knowable, thank you.
I'm
you.
taking notes on what you're saying.
Make a motion to close the public.
Yeah, go ahead, Councilman.
I'd like to make a motion to close public comment.
All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Vice President Lynch, you still have the floor as a committee chair.
I personally would like to make a motion to table ordinance, 31.
I didn't get to
I think this is good.
answer my question.
So there is a motion to table. A motion to table takes precedence over other motions. So if there's a second to the motion to table, then then what would happen is you have to vote on the motion to table. So understand.
Could Councilor Lynch withdraw her motion?
Well,
she has
to decide which are.
So is there, well, I guess the question is there a second? If there isn't one, then it's wrong.
I just wanted to just ask.
Go ahead.
The what Councilwoman Wentz had said earlier about us being liable if there was something wrong with this. Is that true?
I think legally, no. I think it was more in the spirit of, I've never seen a municipal body be sued for passing an appropriation ordinance.
Just wanted to-
Now, the person that would be liable is, as you heard, there are significant audits by the federal government on all this kind of money. Everyone knows if you misappropriate federal money, there's usually vast consequences, but that will be on the people that are controlling the money, not you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we don't control the money.
Okay, then I withdraw my motion to table.
Okay, and Councilman Haynes.
Appreciate it. Thank you, President Burke. So a couple comments I wanted to add to things that we said. One, Vice President Wentz had said that we wanted to wait to vote on this until there's a full report on where all these funds are, and I completely respect that, but that wasn't sought in the last meeting when Vice President Wentz presented an ordinance to vote on that still allocated significant funds. They may not have been as significant as what we're discussing tonight, but it allocated significant funds. Not really clear what else it was trying to do. And again, just to follow up on this, I'm not sure what action council members would intend to take. If council members were to find that, in fact, just as the administration says, there are $22 million sitting in 45 different bank accounts. That's to be corroborated at our next meeting. I'm not sure what suggestion, and I haven't heard too many suggestions tonight from council members about what that would mean and what adjustments they would seek to the ordinance as proposed, were that to be proven. And further, I'm not sure what adjustments we would seek that would be relevant, that would be more stringent or, better to enforce federal law than the federal law that covers this funding in the first place. I mean, there are federal audits associated with these funds. Just as our solicitor said, I mean, if these funds are misappropriated by an employee, I'm not sure what action this council could take that would stop it beyond what the federal government already has, to reiterate. But again, if an employee or member of the administration misappropriated those funds, they would be responsible legally, I understand, for that. I mean, it can't be done. I don't know what action, again, we could take to stop someone from, say, buying a Learjet on the borough or township card, but, you know, they can't do it. And I don't know what would happen in 2 weeks or 4 or a year that we could understand that would make that more clear. And also, you know, if we approve these funds tonight, and I think this work deserves more discussion. $6 million of this 20.5 would go into the general fund. And so the general fund balance, which now stands at about $2 million, would be at 8. So we wouldn't need the train, again, saving us hundreds of thousands of dollars. And unless we're out of the gate, we do not believe anything this administration says, unless we're willing to admit that on the record without being provided a document. I don't know what else we can do here. I mean, I think that this ordinance is fine. I think that this is just about appropriating the funds. Some of these funds may not be spent for 2 years, for all we know. I mean, it takes time to bid out sewer work, things like that. The money doesn't disappear tomorrow morning if we say yes tonight. But waiting will deny us the opportunity to put those $6 million into our general fund so that we can make payroll. Again, that's all I have to say for example.
Thank you, Councilman Hammond. Councilman, I'm sorry, you're right. Councilwoman Blackwell.
Hi, I just want to add that the funds exist. That was stated. It was stated that this would hurt the Upper Darby people. We would have to pay more in interest with short-term interest. It was stated that the bank accounts for the holdings will be provided to the Finance Committee. These are solutions that we are being provided and are going to be given. But we want to do this correctly, as everyone has stated. This information, this passing is time sensitive. We have to get this done. The allocations need to be reported properly, which is stated publicly that it will be done. So therefore, I don't see any reason not to pass this with the amended information.
Thank you, Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Tunis, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, President Burke. I just want to make a point of correction. I was referring to the subject of the PowerPoint. I've already understood the subject of the PowerPoint. I wasn't trying to insinuate that like she's done in the past where she gave us things 5 minutes before. I wasn't insinuating she gave us this package in a nefarious manner. Not insinuating that. If I did, President once. However, with that being said, the benefit of I'm going to make a motion to adopt this ordinance.
I'd like to second that motion.
Actually, I was going to try to say something. I would like to pull the Finance Committee, after all this discussion back and forth, Ms. Blackwell and everybody else, that I would like to. Okay.
Yeah, the motion is on the floor and it's time, and this is the time of council comments and concerns on the motion.
So I would like to hear from the Finance Committee, after all the information that's been given by the CAO, Deputy CAO, information from the solicitor and the public, where they feel on this ordinance as it stands now. So, Councilman Silva.
Can't just skip past the pending motion and decide what you want to do.
Public's out of order. Thank you. Councilman Silva, this is a council meeting.
Well, I guess it's part of the discussion. I still feel the same as I felt before. I mean, I understand if there's information, I guess, that Treasurer Heyman wasn't privy to, or didn't have access, or did have access to and omitted, or but there's a lot going on. I mean, I'm looking at something here that doesn't all add up, and I mean, I appreciate everybody's concern, but these things have to be committed to be spent by the December 31st, 2024. They have to be spent by December 31st, 2026. Like, I think there's a little space at the table here if we're just concerned about the fund balances, and frankly, I'm a little concerned about the fund balances. I mean, I appreciate your concern that maybe nobody's going to jail or, you know, but but all that being equal, I would just, you know, there's information that maybe we need to make this with a clearer conscience. I would like to do it that way. That's myself, that's how I feel.
Thank you, Councilman. So, Councilman Druska.
Yeah, I share a sentiment similar to what Councilman Silva said. There's obviously been a lot of information talked about tonight, a lot of confusion. I think there's a pretty straight agreement that we're all in accordance and agree with the allocations for these funds. But currently, right now, I don't feel comfortable with the information. I appreciate the CAO being willing to send the finance committee the account. Once I see that we got straightened out, I'd be glad to move forward with this ordinance, but at the moment right now, I don't feel comfortable.
Councilwoman Wagner.
I'm gonna share that sentiment. Frankly, solicitor knows I'm an attorney now too. I know that we're not gonna necessarily go to jail.
I would hope.
But, yeah, but, what I do know is that to move forward tonight without complete clarification is irresponsible government. And, I think we need further clarification. Again, in the future, with that clarification, I would be much more comfortable voting yes and would do so. Tonight I will not.
And Chair, Vice President.
Well, I originally made a motion to table it, and I still support the concept of tabling it because there are too many pieces that I feel are missing. The allocations are spot on. You know, there's been a lot of work on them. I greatly appreciate them, the work that's been done about the allocations, but I'm greatly concerned about where the funds are, what's happening with it. And by the numbers I've seen, I know they're saying the money's there, but I don't see it, and I need to see it. Because I don't think it's appropriate to allocate funds if we don't know for certain they are there. Without a bank statement that, or all the bank statements showing it to us, that's very concerning. So I support tabling it.
Thank you, Finance Committee. Now I will take it back to Councilman Tibbs.
I was gonna say, yes, I do appreciate the comments by the finance committee. I think what one of the residents says, they were all in agreement with the allocation. We all agree on allocating, which we'll be doing by making this motion. So I just think that we should think about this as a whole for the entire township. I know we all got a little bit contentious tonight because we feel very passionate, but I'm under the mindset that every day we slow down the allocation of this money, we only hurt the residents of Upper Darby Township.
Yeah, I'm in agreement, you know, I make a motion that we adopt this.
I think there was a motion.
Well, if there's a, Councilor Wagner, if there's a motion to table and that's seconded, you have to vote on that first.
I understand, that's what,
Right.
so I will make a motion to table.
I second it.
Laura did it first.
That's okay. I pulled it. I'm renewing.
So then you take a vote on the motion.
So let's do a roll call. So yes to table and a no, right? So let's make yes to table and no, not.
Yes.
So 3-1-1. Councilor Hayden,
No.
Councilor Blackwell,
No.
Councilor Anderson,
Yes.
Councilor Civic. No. Councilor Corralian,
Yes.
Councilor Silver,
Yes.
Council President Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Phillips is a no. Councilor Wagner,
Yes.
Councilor Smith,
No.
and, Vice President.
Yes.
There you go.
Next, we have Planning, Zoning, and Building Code Committee, Chairwoman, Vice President Barwin.
Thank you. Just to clarify that members of the zoning committee, I should mention that the previous committee is Councilwoman Faraya, Councilwoman Wagner, and Councilman Heyman. We have a presentation for land development for Darby Township Community Center at 7,000 Walnut Street. Y'all would like to step up, just make sure you're not blocking.
Okay, you got this?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's yours?
Okay.
Yeah, what's your reference, would you like to do the record?
This is a resolution of Upper Darby Township granting preliminary / final land development plan approval for the Upper Darby Township Community Center at 7,000 Walnut Street. Upper Darby Township is desirous, in order of orderly and appropriate land use and development to protect health, safety, welfare of its residents. The Upper Darby Township is the owner of a certain 0.349 acre parcel with a street address of 7,000 Walnut Street, Upper Darby Township, located in the Township Recreation Zoning District. The township is proposing to redevelop the community center on the property with a 3-story community center with a small plaza. The township is caused to be prepared a certain preliminary / final land development plan for the project prepared by JMT Architecture, dated November 24th, 2021, and with the Delaware County Planning Department file. Delaware County Planning Department has reviewed the plan and pursuant to the review letter dated December 17, 2021, recommended that the plan be approved. Council desires to approve the plan pursuant to section 508 of the Municipality Planning Code. So now therefore be it resolved by the Upper Darby Township Council that the plan is granted hereby granted preliminary / final land development approval. So it's the reading.
Thank you, please, sorry.
Chairwoman, go.
Thank you, sorry, please, sorry for the wait. Thank you for still being here. Please go forward with your presentation.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for having me here this evening to present. My name is Chantal Francis. I'm the architecture regional lead for JMT Architecture, and I'm the project manager for the new community center project Upper Darby. So first of all, I just want to thank you again for hearing me out tonight. I do have a very, very quick presentation I want to give you and then answer some questions that you might have about the project. So the project is in the current location of the old Welcome Centre. This is a site that is currently completely pervious, parking lot, single-story building. And our proposed building is going to be a 24,000, just a little bit under 24,000 square feet of building. It's a 3-story. It's a 3-story recreation and community center with a mezzanine level. It has a lot of really great features for use, including multi-purpose athletic spaces, a lot of meeting rooms and flexible spaces of different sizes for large groups and small groups to be able to have meetings and also event spaces. We've got a lot of really important site development features that we're really excited about that provide increased open space, green area for the community to enjoy. And I just wanted to talk through a couple of those features with you today. And then I can answer some additional questions that you might have. So we have provided, let me see the site plan from here a bit. This is the 3D view of the building, so you can see at the entranceway, there's a lot of green space that's been, a lot of open space here in the entranceway for the plaza. It is intended, it's a walkable area. We are expecting that a lot of the people that this community center is going to serve are going to be large groups, small groups, people that are going to be arriving by public transit. It's in an area, one of the requirements for the LEED certification. This building will be LEED certified, which is a sustainable rating system for the building, is required to be connected, well connected to transit, which this site is. So we are expecting a lot of people coming, perhaps being dropped off by bus in groups, accessing the site by transit, or drop off. We have arranged the site for parking around the perimeter. There's ADA spaces, staff parking, as well as, and 8 regular spaces that have been provided in the bump out, around the curb bump outs around the site. There are also bicycle spaces, which is another feature of the building, for people who work there, commuter facilities for showering, that there is secure bicycle storage at the facility as well. So we're really excited about just being able to bring young people to the centre by walking, drop off, school buses, etc. A couple of the features of the site, and I don't know if I should move away from the microphone if that's okay. Yeah, to kind of demonstrate. So there's a couple of really nice features to the site here. There's stormwater treatment by rain garden, by permeable pavers, as well as extensive green roof areas and a rain system that's going to also capture stormwater. So we're taking this site from 99.6% impervious, so it's a very, very hard area. And the new design is 85% impervious. And so we're achieving that through the use of really nice rain gardens that are a great educational feature. Be able to see how the water is treated, and it goes into the site in the area. It's also a little bit over-designed, so we're not getting wet. The green roof and some of the permeable pavers are not credited for in the stormwater calculations for the site, but we are designing them also because they're a great feature throughout the year, and they will help us achieve more sustainable points. I think that some of the other things that I just wanted to note about the site is that the sustainable features of the site, the community use of the site, it is very flexible. It's going to be a space that lots of different groups will be able to do a lot of different activities, and that's been really important in planning the space, is that it can be used for active and passive, and we've been very mindful in our design to make sure that it's very accessible, walkable, the grading on the site, all the way through to the types of the spaces, the finishes and the feel of the space, to make sure that it's suitable for young people, old people, people from any walks of life, and all the community here in Upper Darby. So that's all I have for now, and I just wanted to open it up, I suppose, for any questions about any of the information.
I have one question. You were talking about rainwater and everything.
Yes.
Are you using the rainwater for what they call this rainwater for,
yes,
for plumbing into the building, recovering the water into a tank and then using that as, a lead project?
Yeah, so one of the things that the cistern does at the site, we're looking at using it just for irrigation. It does collect the size of it, a lot of water for that. So our plumbing engineer is looking at different ways to be able to incorporate that back into reuse in the building. But we're still at midpoint in the design, so we haven't finalized some of those features yet. But yes, that is something that our engineering team is investigating.
And do you have a number on this project?
At this time,
Estimated number?
so we're still in design at the moment. We're midway through design. So we're working through, the selections at the moment. So we don't have at this time a cost estimate to share.
I think it's a great project, and especially a lead project. I've worked on many of them. Westchester University just put a green roof on, and all their equipment sits on pavers. And it's unbelievable how much sod they put on top of the roof, and just plant things and try to recover the water. So I'm sure you guys will do nice work. So, and all your information, can you give to Mike Galante so he can take it over to our council clerk?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Laura.
No, that's okay. Also want to let you know, for our minutes purposes, if you have what you just said, if you can email it to Alexis or to CAO so that he can get it to Ken.
Email it to Mike and Mike.
Yeah.
I have the document, I have all the information, I can send it out.
Okay, great, just so that we can get everything you said correct in the minutes, we just want to make sure
Okay.
we're really accurate.
All right,
So,
thank you so much.
But is there anyone else from council have any questions for her on this presentation? Or, council, anybody?
Okay.
Councilman Silva?
Yeah, I think this is gonna be a great project. I'm really looking forward to it. I like the location. I think that's gonna be a real benefit in the area is. I can't wait for that building to be taken down and this to take its place. And I really, I've seen you guys view at the International Festival and I've seen your presentations before. And I can't wait for this to start. So yeah, I look forward to passing this tonight.
Right, Councilman Tunis?
Yes, I actually, I'm really in favor of this. I grew up in the area. There's no immediate access to any playgrounds. There's no immediate access to any recreation activity. I see kids every week driving down Avon Road, jumping over the fence to sneak into Vinewood Elementary. I also see, the overcrowding of the park behind Domino's where people are playing cricket, kids can play soccer, people are enjoying. It just seems that that part of the district is congested and, this can really help a lot of residents. And I'm really in favor of this. I'm asking my colleagues to bring this forward because this is going to enhance the entrance to our township as well.
Anyone else from council?
Just briefly,
Wagner?
thank you for that presentation, but I just have one question. About how long do you anticipate this taking?
The construction
Yes.
duration, so at the moment, we're midway through design. We anticipate being ready to bid in April, and then the construction duration should be about 12 months at the moment. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great, anyone else? I just want to say I greatly appreciate all the work that you've been doing. The added green space is definitely essential for our township, but especially as Councilman Tunis pointed out, that area, that, and also you had mentioned about all the concrete in that area. They're really, especially with the Sears parking lot that is crumbling across the street. It's really important to have so much green space, and utilizing the rain barrels and the rain garden and the rain roof and all the trees and everything. It's awesome. Greatly appreciate your work. Thank you. Yep, yeah. So,
Anybody like to make a motion to approve?
like to make a motion to approve?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The board system. Cool. We'll throw them over to Charlie up next. Yep.
Next up, we have the municipal service license. Public Works Committee, Chair for Bruce Scooter. Resolution from Solicitor Richardson.
Thank you, Member. This is resolution 0422, resolution of Darby Township adopting Act 537 plan. The Pennsylvania Code requires a municipality to adopt an official sewer facility plan which provides for sewer services adequate to prevent contamination of water and or environmental health hazards in sewage waste and to provide said plan whenever it is necessary to meet the sewer supply needs of the municipality. Fleming has prepared an Act 537 update for the entire Young Forest service area. This plan is for the sole purpose of addressing the PA Department of Environmental Protection, DEP, Act 537 plan requirements for the Eastern Service Plan update, whereas the alternative of choice to be implemented is alternative 2, construction of the deep tunnel storage conveyance facility and upgrades of pumping and treatment facilities. Upper Darby Township finds that the Act 537 plan updates described above informs the applicable zoning and subdivision ordinances and to other municipal ordinances and plans and to a comprehensive program of pollution control and water quality management. Now therefore be it resolved that Upper Darby Township hereby adopts and submits to the Department of Environmental Protection for its approval as an update of the quote official plan of Upper Darby Township, the above referenced 557 plan update. And the township hereby assures that the department of the complete and timely implementation of the said plan as required by law. So is the reading. Council President Burke.
Thank you, Solicitor Richardson. I would like to comment that Township Engineer Michael Londe has done a lot of work on this Act 537 plan. And I know it was here a couple of months ago and finalized this month. So thanks for your hard work, Mike. And take it over to the chair of these students.
Yeah, is there any questions or concerns from any residents? Sorry, are there any questions or concerns from any members of council?
Is there a presentation?
Yeah, we have Charlie Hurst. Good evening, everyone. Charlie Hurst is the engineer for Delcora, who is presenting the Act 537 plan and the modification. So Charlie is here to answer any questions about what the modification does and what it means. He has a sewer shed map. So any questions you can direct to Charlie, you can answer them about Act 537. Charlie, if there's anything you want to add about it.
No, you covered it, Mike, very well. Again, Charlie Hurst with Delcora, Director of Engineering. Thank you for your time in advance. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. If you want an overview, I can provide that as well. I want to keep it short out of respect for your time and your day jobs. If you need some sleep before those.
Yeah, like I previously stated, are there any questions or concerns from anyone on council?
Yeah, actually, I mean, would it be okay to get like kind of the presentation? Yeah.
You're really short? Sure.
Yeah, sure. I mean, whatever you.
Happy to. So Upper Darby, is that?
Can you talk to the mic there?
Yeah, we're Upper Darby Township.
Yeah, right. So you are unique in many respects. The color, obviously, you recognize this as Delaware County, right? Upper Darby is unique in that there's a portion of Upper Darby, the pink portion, is served by Delcora through the Darby Creek line. There's a portion of Upper Darby that's served through the orange portion, which is the Muckamuckety system. Both of those flow to Delcora. The portion of Upper Darby that's not shaded is the Cobbs Creek line, which is directly into Philadelphia through a separate contract with Philadelphia.
Okay.
So that contract renews in 2023. The Delcora service area, all the colored areas is served by Delcora. Those collectively have a challenge with respect to the Delcora contract. That contract expires in 2028. That contract is, it is subject to a cost sharing agreement with the Philadelphia costs for their combined sewer system. EPA's rules on Philadelphia has turned into a $4.5 billion program. It's a $1 billion program. And so the Delcora customer base is responsible for 9.44% of that cost. That has led us to say over a long period, that's going to turn into a lot of dollars for the Delcora customers, including the portion of Upper Darby that's served by Delcora. That led us to look at alternatives. Those are the 4 alternatives that are presented in the 537 plan. Far and away, the most attractive is for us to redirect the Delcora service area, which currently goes into Philadelphia, direct that through a tunnel to the wastewater plant that currently exists in Chester.
Okay, so they're gonna divert what goes through Cobbs Creek now.
Cobbs Creek. No, it's not what we're talking about. So the Cobbs Creek system, can you still hear me okay if I talk
Yeah,
about it?
absolutely.
All right, so the Cobbs Creek system is completely separate. That's a different contract. It renews in 2023. It's a whole different matter. Right?
Okay.
But the portion of Upper Darby, which goes into the pink and the orange, that currently flows to pump stations that are owned and operated by Delcora down here. Those pump into Philadelphia through this green line.
Okay.
The portion of Upper Darby that goes through the green line is what we want to turn the green line off and push that green line the other way to Chester through a tunnel.
Oh, okay. Did that go to what, the Southwest Philadelphia plant?
This is the Southwest plant, exactly, the one by the airport?
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
so currently the Delcora portion, the Delcora served portion of Upper Darby is pumped to the Southwest plant.
Okay, so what you want to do is then just
Eliminate
connect
that.
that by pipeline to
Yep.
Chester.
Correct, yep, through, except instead of a near surface pipeline, which was one of 4 options studied, that is more costly and much more disruptive on many levels because it's an 8.5 mile long ditch. And instead of that, we would do a rock tunnel, a deep rock tunnel, roughly 100 foot below grade, the tunnel boring machine that actually creates both storage and conveyance below the ground. It's like a long linear tank that collects and flows by gravity into Chester and then it's pumped up into the plant.
Oh, wow, okay. What's
not,
the
it's not,
diameter of that?
so it's a 14-foot diameter.
Wow.
It's not new technology. There's currently one there's, like Washington DC has one half built and under construction, the other half is already in service. Detroit, Chicago, Milwaukee, many it's a relatively, not just relatively, it's a proven technology of a way to capture high wet weather flows, store them and convey them in one long linear.
Lower maintenance and pumping stations as well too.
That's exactly right. Vertical drop shafts that drop by gravity, one pump station at the end to bring it back to the grade.
Okay.
Yep. So this is an Act 537 plan, which is Act 537 is a law by Pennsylvania. It says municipalities have to have a plan for their waste. We're here to recommend or ask that you would approve this as your municipal plan for your waste.
Great, thank you. And actually, thank you very much, Councilman Silva, and for your question and your description. Now I understand everything a lot more.
Good.
Right, so thank you.
Any other questions?
Anyone have any other questions?
Sorry, I'm the chair of this committee. Does anyone have any?
Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. Old habits.
Concerns from any council members? Thank you.
Motion to approve, please.
Motion to approve.
Second. It's an honor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sounds good. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Have a good night.
Next up, we have Public Safety Committee, Chairwoman Lisa Farrell.
So tonight we had our meeting before a council meeting, before our committee meeting, I'm sorry. And honestly, I can't even remember what we talked about because my head is spinning. So, I do want to say though, I wanted to just address a couple things. One, Councilwoman Went had asked us at our first meeting back on the 5th about police dogs. So we do have two. We have one from Officer Scott, Canine Bain is his dog. And then for Officer Rachel Curdo, we have Canine Juno. And there is two more dogs that are going to be coming this year. So I just wanted to address that with you. You had asked last time. So when I met with Superintendent and CAO, he informed me of that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody from our committee have anything to bring forward?
I do briefly. I received a email, just this week, involving a parking issue on Fir Boulevard. For those of you who are not familiar with it, it is a shopping area, basically. It's a business, and I think there's some confusion whether or not it's a business district or not. But what I do know is that there are concerns and complaints about commercial vehicles and trucks parking there. We talked about it, and it would be on the side across from Station Tap, so the residential side, not the business side. We talked about this at our meeting earlier. Officer Bateman, I'm gonna ask you if you could look into that, that particular issue for me, just get back to me, so that along with Mr. Galante, we can work with that.
I believe, this is, President Burke and Council Reinhardt was looking at the CEO. I guess you were, Mr. Andrioni, you were asking that the request be made to administration. Is that what you were asking? Sorry.
Sure, I think that's the appropriate procedure, again.
Well, I mean, I think that's how I got it, to be honest, it came in that way to me, but however, it's just someone could look into that for me.
So how, Councilwoman Wagner, what, should we send it through the mayor's request line? Or was it sent through the mayor's request line? Or was it just a resident that sent it in? So it's just a resident?
I believe.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Alexis.
I spoke with Councilwoman Wagner, and I said what the next step would be is to bring it up at committee, and then we have to get a petition to take to the residents, because all the residents have to be in agreement that they would want to put up signage for no parking of trucks or commercial vehicles, because of course that's going to include pickup trucks as well.
I think the issue that we're dealing with is that whether or not it's a business district or not, because I think that changes or possibly could change whether 80 signatures are required on the petition.
There's only 2 apartments and 1 house, and the 1 house that faces Vermont Road and the 2 apartments that face Vermont, Fern Boulevard are the only properties between that lot of the 9 parking spots. So the question was at the committee, how do we handle this due to the fact that the 1 household has a driveway and faces Vermont, and the other household is a quadplex, triplex or quadplex, and they're rentals, and they both have driveways. So would it be to the town, we're asking, does it go back to the township engineer because the project was just finished? The way the parking spots are, they're on an angle. And if a truck is halfway through the street and a small car tries to pull out, you can't see. I think that's the only concern, the safety concern. So whatever way we need to bring it through the township engineer to relook at it, or the administration, or, officer abatement, we just like to bring it forward of the complaint, that's all. Especially after the project was just finished. So we'll leave it in your hands to figure out, to get back to Councilwoman Wagner, is that okay?
It's out of my hands if you're not doing a petition, so.
Yeah, and I think thank you, Alexis, I really appreciate you bringing that to me, that's why I think I'm asking, where you go from there.
In other words, generally, I would handle it if we were doing a petition, but if we're skipping over that and just going right to the engineer, then.
We'll do it. Let's see what happens, I guess. Unless the administration or the township engineer has another way to do it.
We're happy to look into it and get back to you about the business district question and the site plan. So,
That would be great.
Anybody else on the committee have anything?
Yes, I was wondering if I could meet with the committee and present some things that I talked to President Burke, talked to Engineer Magdalene, I've also spoken to CEO Argioni. I think I have some things that could be a substitute for some speed control and things like that. And I would love to present that to the public safety committee, given an opportunity.
Okay.
Councilwoman Frye, I will step out of that meeting, so Councilman Simmons can have that committee meeting. We have already spoke about some ideas and some other areas in the area that have the same type of timing that Mr. Simmons has spoken. So whenever you want to set that up, just include me in the meeting. All right, thank you.
Yeah, don't include you.
No, no.
Okay.
No, you should be included, just know it's not.
Yeah, I just won't go to the meeting.
Anybody else?
Yeah. So actually, since Councilwoman Wagner, I'm glad you brought up about the parking of commercial vehicles. We had talked about we need to look at that ordinance because the way it's written, it would cause people's personal trucks to also get ticketed. So we had talked about, we didn't get a chance to do it over the last few years, but we had talked about looking into that ordinance to amend it to revamp it to commercial vehicles and box trucks. Because we've been having problems with people parking box trucks at corners and so forth, where it blocks sight lines, but then it wouldn't target people's personal trucks or SUVs, right? So, but we never got a chance to really meet and talk about that. So if you guys could tackle that, that would be awesome.
Okay.
And I'm happy to step in and talk about what we had talked about. Great, thank you.
Okay, Danielle.
Also, please, we had mentioned that we're going to resurface or revisit the parking permits, residential parking permits. This was something that we had did as a pilot plan.
We didn't do the pilot plan, but we have asked Councilman Heyman to reach out to Cal Holes.
Yeah, Councilor Frye, can I just give a brief update? Our office has had a conference call about a week ago with Ms. Coles and the CAO, and we have a draft ordinance that Ms. Richardson and I are working on. We anticipate it will be going to committee very soon.
And that's for the parking permits.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, anybody else? I wanted to address Olivia Taylor, but I see that she's not here. But when I did at our last meeting, how she was questioning, I guess, the CAO and saying about the police department, that he's allowing them to go and use our police officers for the Friend Cemetery, for Rudy's Tavern and the Waterford Room. That is not the case. The case is they are on a detail. So I just wanted to make that publicly that it isn't our, it is a detail. The township does get paid money. It's not like we're just sending police officers down there on I just wanted to bring that out to everybody.
So, thank you for clarifying. I did know that, but, I'm glad that he made it.
Yeah.
I know I did. Thank you.
All right, so I'm just wondering, can you revisit that when she's here?
Yeah. All right, that's the end of my report.
Next up, Parks and Recreation. Chairman Silver.
Hi, yes, for the Parks and Recreation Committee, at this time, do any of the members of Parks and Recreation have anything to bring forward? Do any members of council? We haven't, had anything new developed, for Parks and Recreation at this time, so, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilman Silver. Next up, Law and Government Rules Procedure Committee, Chair, Councilman Silver.
Hi, okay, yes, for Law and Government Rules and Procedure, there are two items that we are, reporting on. I did speak recently with Solicitor Richardson about the changes being made in Law and Government. I'd like to have us meet soon to discuss the changes being made to the rules of decorum. Just, you know what I mean, if there's something we can do to kind of address it. But we certainly want to keep within the guidelines of not getting sued. So put it in layman's terms. And then the other item that we have met on recently and that Solicitor Richardson has recently drafted a copy of a resolution that I'll be sharing with everyone this evening is, or on the committee, is that we're concerned about the redistricting of the magisterial judicial districts. We're deeply concerned by the number of judge districts in the township of Upper Darby, the ones that we also share with neighboring municipalities. I think this is an important matter. There is a public comment period on this till the 22nd to petition the President Judge Kelly from Upper Darby, Delaware, or the Delaware County Court System, to let him know that the current proposal is fraught with some issues in our mind anyway. There's parts of Upper Darby Township, particularly like in the first district, that are going to be, they have to meet in Springfield Municipal Building, which is not, it's not accessible by public transit. And also the people in that district would not be able to select their own judge for approximately a decade. There's a lot that's not correct with this. We're going to be presenting, we're going to continue to work on this resolution. Hopefully we'll be able to present it at our next meeting. But I did just want to let people know about it. And so that, you know, hopefully people will weigh in on this issue as well. And do any other members of Law and Government have anything to add at this time?
No.
And do any other members of council?
I do.
Okay.
So I was on this committee, before the re-regulation, so I didn't take my next book. And I hope I'm not going to step on anybody's toes, and if I do, I apologize right now. Just want to know, I don't know, who to address this to. Is there a reason why I wasn't chosen to be on this committee for this term?
No, there was no reasoning at all. I just set forth the committees and just the way it was, and really wasn't brought to my attention until about 2 minutes ago, sitting next to you. So, would not even looked, at the past committee, so, no reason at all.
So it was an oversight.
Yes, an oversight, I would say. I mean, I was, juggling people, juggling council people on committees. Added a committee, maybe should have canceled the committee.
No, I'm just asking.
Yeah, so, I mean,
I'm just asking,
not everything's always set in stone.
I know, I get it, I get it, Mr. President, I was just asking because there's a committee that I would like to have stayed on, but.
It's a,
Well,
Yeah.
if it's any, I was on committees and I was.
So-
It's all good, I was just asking.
I always like working with you too, Michelle, so I didn't have input into that either, but.
But, thank you, Secretary Gomes.
Good. I'm sorry, is there any other council members, Councilman City?
Yeah, I was the co-chair with operating this committee, but I don't know the reason I was moved from there, how it is happened. I just, it is,
Like I said, for
who set up this committee? It is
so the president assigns the committees, and, way I assign them. That's the answer I can give you.
That is you, we did it, or?
Yeah.
Yes, it was me. And only me.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, is there any other items for law and government? Okay, if not, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Next up, Public Health and Environmental Affairs Committee.
Okay, so, we met on January the 26th at 6:45 PM, and we discussed the following initiatives. So the members of the Public Health and Environmental Affairs Committee consist of Councilman Civic, Silva, and Tunis. And we discussed the following initiatives. We discussed blood drives, we discussed an initiative for the residents to know your numbers, which include total cholesterol. Can you hear me? Okay, all right, so I'm gonna go back because I wasn't on. Is this better? All right, so, all right, and so we discussed the blood drives, we discussed know your numbers, the total cholesterol, blood pressure, body mass index, and an exercise initiative leading up to the May Mental Health Day or May 14th. So what we're trying to do is. The 22nd, okay, so it's on the 22nd, apologize. So the bottom line is that we're trying to build on what we had before to make it a more inclusive and collaborative council. So we discussed cleanups on the last Saturday of the month. These cleanups started from the mayor's initiative of cleaning up the parks. But since this is public health and environmental affairs, we were thinking that perhaps this should go out throughout the township for weekend cleanups. This way, everybody in council can participate. We discussed the homeless initiatives, and we would like for these initiatives to start on Earth Day, which is April 22nd, 2022. And if you have any input, we need your input, and we expect for you to participate. Well, our residents expect for you to participate. Does anyone from the committee have anything to bring forth? Does anyone from council have anything to bring forth? Administration or department heads have anything to bring forward? Hereby close my report.
Thank you, Councilwoman Blackwell. Next up, we have Community Engagement Committee.
Yes, thank you, President Burke. And I believe the first council meeting in January, I verbally asked President Burke for access to the Upper Darby Township Council Facebook. I have still yet to receive access. I was told last Tuesday I was going to get access by Vice President once. I still have yet to get access to the Facebook. So I just want to make sure that we're all following and we're in line with the wishes of our council president, which was I was supposed to be given access. So I'm asking you, Council President, if that's something that we can make sure is done.
I will, talk to Vice President Wentz and, make sure she gets the, code or password to you.
Yeah, I apologize. I just have to find my password so that I can add you in as an administrator. That's all. So I'll work on that tomorrow.
Yeah, if we can get that done before Friday, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Jones. Next up, we have Culture Competency Committee.
Is that it for the
I'm sorry.
committee?
I thought we covered that at the beginning of the meeting.
It's all good. As there, first, I'd just like to thank, the Community Engagement Committee in collaboration with, President Burke as well as other chapters for awarding our, Black History Month awardees tonight. Are there any other questions or concerns from any members of the committee?
Well, just want to remind people that, next month we're doing Women's History Month.
Yeah, so next month we'll be doing Women's History Month at the first meeting, and also we'll be honoring residents of Irish heritage. We're gonna try to make it reasonable so we're not here as late. But the first meeting, we're gonna honor women of the township, and you can always send me recommendations. I want recommendations from all over the township. And then the second meeting, we're gonna honor residents of Irish heritage, being an upper Darby, was a hub. It was being an Irish immigration center. So I think it's important that we highlight that heritage and upper Darby. Are there any questions or concerns from council? Yeah.
It's certainly, so on the workshop meeting, then will be, like a presentation for Women's History Month. And then, we were gonna highlight women at that meeting, and then at the voting meeting, and it'll be, Irish resident.
Yeah, so we're not trying to, tonight we learned a little bit about doing awards, so we're gonna try to keep it like under 4.
Okay.
So then, like maybe like 2 or 3, and then, I think that it's important that we highlight the residents of Irish heritage.
But it'll be similar to like what was tonight, but just a smaller number.
Yeah, read about of the work they've done in the community, giving them a award, and just engaging with the community.
Okay, thank you.
And then the next one will be for the Italian people.
Oh. I'm trying to move around with the CEO around doing I'll stay in my lane. Just let me know the month. I need money.
That's October.
We have time. Sadiq has a question.
Go ahead, Steve.
Oh, okay. Nothing from our committee, thank you.
Thank you, Chair, Reese Jones. Next, we have, Cultural Competency Committee, Chairwoman Michelle Belt.
So, so one of the things that I was thinking about doing, and, Councilman Civic, I want to, talk with you about this, is, including, people from the Sikh community and, the Bangladesh community, because a lot of times I know that community is not seen or heard, right? So, I mean, not something on the level of the international festival, but something, something a little bit smaller, maybe, maybe something collaborative, maybe you and I can talk about that and then try to figure that out. Because Representative Zabel said that he would like to work with our community or something like that. So I'll talk to you later about that. So does anyone on the committee have anything to add? And I'll talk to everybody else about it. I'm sorry, I'm not leaving anybody out. Anybody in the committee have anything?
I'm sorry, this Cultural Competency Committee? Okay, no, that is fine.
So again.
It's like Upper Darby have a lot of culture.
Right. Yeah.
So, try to include everybody and we meet together and a lot of great culture having in living in Upper Darby. So we recognize all of them, respect all of them, and to celebrate all the culture, the diversity, township.
Absolutely. I mean, it doesn't have to be on a grand scale, like I said, like an international festival, but more something more like something cultural, I have some ideas, but sometimes I have a whole bunch of stuff in my head, but well, we can figure it out. The committee can talk about it and try to figure it Yeah. Maybe we have a- yeah. Yes, but,
I was just wondering if you can also include state representative Brady in the
Yeah.
conversation, that would be really
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah, we will, absolutely. Anybody else from, council have anything else to add? That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Bowles. Next, we have Community Development Committee, Chair Civic. We just saw a nice presentation, of, the community center. Hearing a lot of buzz about the fence around Drexel line, so hopefully, yourself and Mr. Andrusko, can figure out what's going on there over the next couple of months, so, Community Development Committee.
I will request, the administration and the council also. Like anything developing our community, our township should come to the council, and then from council I can get it as a chair. And then I can talk about it and discuss with the community, also discuss with the council as well as for the public forum. So I think I talked with the administration that what is, we don't know who is coming in our township, what's good with development. So if there is any information, if I can get it, that will be good for me to talk about it. But one good thing what we happened tonight is a demand for a long time for our community. Is I'm so happy it is happening in next to my district and the both districts, the 6 and 7 will be benefited from there as well as full of other township. Long time demand for the community, and the finally dream is coming true. Thank you to our mayor, the CEO, and the whole township administration to bring this to our community. It's a great addition for the Upper Darby Township. And with that, I would like to, I'm going to set up meetings soon with our community development group. And we'll have a cup of tea or coffee. And then we'll discuss about how we can, since we created a new committee, let's make it active. And let's let the community know what's happening. With that, I would like to ask the committee person, have anything to add to this one, please? Yes.
Okay, I just wondering if there's any way that we as a committee could meet with the new planning commission to get a sense of what they're looking at, because things are gonna be coming through them before, so that we can work hand in hand with them. To see what's happening.
Just go to their meeting.
Okay, great.
But
But
it was every second Monday. Yeah, and it's here in
So-
person, and then.
So next Monday.
Yeah.
Oh, next Monday, okay, so we
No,
can.
I
just
think
have-
instead of asking them to come in again for different meetings.
Okay, no, I didn't realize they were meeting every other.
So it's every
Yeah.
second month?
Every
Every
month.
second, the second Monday of every month.
Yeah.
Okay,
Second month
okay,
of the month.
so they'll be meeting, okay, all right, great, so.
That should give you
All
enough.
right. Any other council member had any idea, any talk or anything to say regarding the community development?
Nope.
No, administration, please.
I have one question for the administration and Mayor Pepper. About the planning commission. Drexel Line's already gone through everything. Does the planning commission have any information about Drexel Line, or does Drexel Line even have to tell the planning commission what's going on, or they just run everything through township engineer Galante? Because they just put fences up there a couple of weeks ago, and unfortunately, they have a trail parked there. Job trailer, but it's actually a camper. So,
Here, is Mike Galante still
I'm here,
here?
yeah.
Do you want to give an update on Drexel Line?
Sure. Yeah, so just to give you a recap on Drexel Line, that project was approved prior to implementation of the planning commission. They've received their land development approval, zoning approvals over approximately a year ago. Over that time, they were working on their permits, and I think you've heard me come here a couple times, talk about how we're trying to get the sewer permit. so they can start work. They received that permit approximately 2 to 3 weeks ago. That's why you saw the fence come out on the site. Moving forward, we've heard that they just received all their other remaining environmental permits. And we would expect them to break ground on that project sometime in early spring. Initially, and another thing to note too is that they also received a demolition permit from L&I. So that's also important. So that's showing that they're going to make movement. Initially, you're not going to see a lot of movement on the site. They have to do the environmental work inside the building before they can do the demolition. But we're gearing up, scheduling pre-construction meetings, and you'll see movement on that site fairly soon.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
I think that's going to be communication.
Thank you, Chairman Chitty. Next up, we have solicitors report.
Thank you very much, President Burke. You saw many of the ordinances and resolutions our firm was working on tonight. Unfortunately, we did get notice from St. Eugene's, which I believe President Burke and Councilor Faralia were CC'd on. We got information from John McLean, their attorney, basically informing us that they're basically starting from square one from the Archdiocese approval levels. They had thought that they had approval to move forward with this transaction. Seems like they do not. And when I spoke to Mr. McLean, he said he doesn't really know how long the process is going to take because evidently it's a new process from the Archdiocese. Unfortunately, St. Eugene's will not probably come to fruition in the very, very near future. So that's, I know council frequently asked me that question over the last year where that was going. So I wanted to give council an update and work with the administration to keep everybody informed and also figure out the status of all the grant funding that was accompanied with the St. Eugene's acquisition. That kind of concludes my report.
Thank God, Bob.
Yeah, I know. Now we have to tell Councilman Quinn that, it's on even longer holding.
And that's because the Archdiocese switched bishops and attorney and stuff, so everything had to start all over. But I did talk to, state representative today, Mike Sable for something else, and I did mention that since the grants were from him, he said he was going to see if they could get postponed or see what he could do, whatever he could do to hold it up.
Thank you, Solicitor. Next up, old business.
I got some old business.
Yeah,
All right, so I addressed some of you about this prior to this meeting, and I want to preface this by saying that some of my comments were, I think, already addressed in the previous discussion of the ARP funding. This isn't, I wouldn't normally make a practice of trying to condense my thoughts into a prepared statement, but it's more just because I want to make sure that I address in the way that I think is appropriate what I want to talk about tonight. So I'd like to address an action by Vice President Wentz during last week's council meeting. Again, I know we've already covered part of this, but I want to be clear that this comment is not directed at anyone who voted for the proposed amended ordinance or to anybody who voted tonight, I'd like to add, and how they voted, but to the person who presented it. And it deals with the manner in which it was presented. I believe that the matter was severely lacking in transparency and done with willful bad faith, and frankly, I think it was referenced. At some point prior to the last council meeting on January 19th, Vice President Wentz created what was, in effect, an entirely new version of Ordinance 3111. While Vice President Wentz had ample opportunity to share this with Ordinance with all council, she chose not to. Instead, not by email in the hours or days prior to the meeting, not in conversation, not directly before the meeting, not while she handed out other materials at the start of the meeting, which I recall, and I may be mistaken, was about a low-income program for Aqua, but in the middle of the meeting. And when members attempted to ask questions, myself included, about the proposal, the proposed and supposedly amended ordinance, Vice President Wentz was evasive and instead attempted to shut down any public discussion of her work. I understand that there were some parliamentary procedures that were discussed, but also it felt appropriate. While I have severe reservations about the document, or had them, That should provide it. I think that these pale in comparison to the unethical process attempted by Vice President Wentz. Providing a proposed law to be advertised with literally no notice during the meeting and then forcing a vote instead of a discussion on this law may not be a literal violation of state sunshine law. But it is most certainly a violation of the spirit of the law that these conversations be held with the opportunity for dissent and public comment. We are an 11-member body for a reason. We do not always have to agree. We are just expected to have the conversation in public. I do not believe this act was a mistake. I think this was not only in bad faith, but I think that Vice President Wentz's actions were intentional and reprehensible and unnecessary. I ask that going forward, we allow for a reasonable amount of time for members to review documents. Again, this already happened tonight, and ask questions prior to forcing actions. That would go for anybody here. I would hope that materials be provided as soon as possible. Thank you. That's all I had to say.
Anybody else on old business?
I do. I'm hoping moving forward that our meetings don't run this late no more. It's 11 o'clock.
I'll third and fourth then.
Other business?
Something real quick to add.
Absolutely, go ahead, Council.
So, we're gonna continue to tradition of the poem. So we've sent our call to forms for the fourth and fifth graders. We expect to get the forms no later than the 10th and to have them read and presented on the 16th.
What's that for?
Is this for Black History Month?
Okay.
Yeah, so we're gonna continue that tradition. And then also for the month of March, if everyone could participate, we're still gonna do, we did something new. We're gonna have, poems read for Women's Month as well.
Anybody else on the business?
Not really new business, I think this is old business. I'm so sorry, I'm not gonna keep you long. Just a reminder that we are doing the mental health care on May 22nd, and our group is meeting tomorrow.
The doctor.
In the job.
On the 14th.
On the 14th. On the 14th.
Where is the doctor?
Ms. Johnson.
I think we were talking, actually to President Burke about seeing if, minor Elizabeth was looking that we could have it. So,
I think, maybe we could direct that to Deputy CIO, Dobbins. She has a friend of mine, Randy, if we need to speak. So I know I could. Yeah, just because I work green, I know the piece.
You want to juice her?
But, it's true. We'll work on it.
Yeah, stay on the side.
Okay. As I end up meeting, okay, Sadiq.
Quick. This Friday, we are having the vaccine clinic at our Darby Study Center. All invited. And also, we are having community dialogue with our mayor and council, especially happening in 6th district this Saturday at noon.
Yeah.
All are invited, please come. It will happen on Walnut Park in Andover. It was scheduled last Saturday, but due to the snow, we changed it to next Saturday. For the council, please join with us, talk with the community this Saturday, 12 noon, Andover, Walnut Park. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Councilman City, what time is the vaccination clinic on Friday?
2 to 4 p.m.
2 to 4. Thank you.
Yes.
Anybody else? Before I adjourn the meeting, as I always end the meeting, it's nice to be nice. I make a motion to adjourn.
All right.